Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm in my early 30s, and I've been married to David for 5 years now. Before I go on, please like and subscribe to follow my journey. When David and I first got married, everything seemed perfect. We were deeply in love and had big plans for our future, but recently, things have become more complicated. One night, I was working late at my design agency when I got a text from my friend, Sarah. Hey girl, Mark and I are grabbing dinner tomorrow night. Do you and David want to join? I sighed, knowing David would probably come up with an excuse not to go. He had been avoiding our friends lately. Thanks for the invite. I'll ask David and let you know, I replied. The next morning at breakfast, I brought it up. So, Sarah invited us to dinner with her and Mark tonight. I thought it might be nice to go out for a change, I said. David barely looked up from his phone. I can't. I have a big presentation to prepare for tomorrow, he said. You've been working late every night this week. One dinner won't hurt, I gently pressed. He finally looked at me, but I could see he was irritated. I said I can't, Olivia, my job is important, and spending time together isn't. The words came out before I could stop them. Isn't important? David's jaw clenched. That's not fair. You know how crucial this deal is for my career. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. I understand that, but our marriage needs attention too. When was the last time we did something fun together? I asked. We went to my mother's for dinner last weekend, he replied. I resisted rolling my eyes. That's not what I meant by fun. He stood up abruptly, clearly frustrated. Well, what do you want from me, Olivia? I'm doing my best here. As he stormed out of the kitchen, I called after him. I want us to be partners again, to actually talk and spend time together. The front door slammed behind him. I sat down in my chair, holding back tears. This wasn't what I imagined marriage would be like. Where had we gone wrong? And more importantly, how could we fix it? I pulled out my phone and texted Sarah. Count me in for dinner. David can't make it. Maybe a night out with friends would help clear my head. As I got ready for work, I couldn't shake the feeling that David and I were drifting apart. I loved him, but love alone wasn't enough. We needed to learn how to communicate and reconnect. I grabbed my bag and headed out, determined to find a way to bridge the growing gap between us. Our marriage was worth fighting for. I just hoped David felt the same way. As I stood in the nursery, gently rubbing my swollen belly, I wondered if we could fix things before our baby arrived. I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that had been with me for the past few months. It had been a whirlwind of emotions, joy about becoming a mother, anxiety about all the changes ahead, and the growing tension between David and me. Olivia, David called from downstairs. Can you come down? We need to talk about something. I took a deep breath, preparing myself for what I knew was coming. When I walked into the kitchen, David was sitting at the table, looking serious. I've been thinking, he began as I sat down. I want to name the baby after my mother. My heart sank. This was exactly what I had been dreading. David, we've talked about this. I'm not comfortable with that, I said. His eyes narrowed. Why not? She's going to be the baby's grandmother. It's a family tradition. Because your mother is difficult, I said carefully. She's always interfering in our lives. I don't want her to have even more control over us or our child. David's face flushed with anger. That's ridiculous. My mother just wants what's best for us. I couldn't hold back. What's best for us or what's best for her? This is our child, David. We should choose a name we both love. He stood up and started pacing the kitchen. You're being selfish, Olivia. This is important to me and my family. I felt my own anger rising. And what about what's important to me? Don't I get a say in our child's name? David's face twisted in frustration. You're just jealous of my mother. You've never liked her. That's not true, I protested. I've tried to get along with her, but she's always criticizing me and trying to control our lives. David suddenly turned around, his eyes flashing with anger. Don't talk about my mother like that. Before I could react, his hand slapped my cheek. The sound echoed in the kitchen as I stared at him in shock, my hand flying to my stinging face. For a moment, everything froze. The reality of what just happened hit both of us. David's eyes widened in horror. Olivia, I'm so sorry, he stammered. I didn't mean to. I don't know what came over me. I backed away from David, tears filling my eyes. Don't touch me, I whispered. It was an accident, David pleaded. I would never hurt you on purpose. I'm just stressed about the baby and work. But his excuses didn't matter. I rushed out of the kitchen and locked myself in the bathroom. My hands were shaking as I grabbed my phone and dialed Sarah. Sarah, I choked out when she answered. Can you come over? I need help. As I waited for her, I stared at my reflection in the mirror. The red mark on my cheek reminded me of how bad things had gotten. How did we end up here? And more importantly, what was I going to do? I heard David's footsteps outside the door, and I flinched. "Olivia, please come out. We need to talk," he said. I stayed silent, my mind racing. This wasn't just about the baby's name anymore. It was about respect, safety, and the future of our family. When I heard Sarah's car pull up, I knew I had some tough decisions to make. Days passed in tense silence. I avoided being alone with David, my emotions all over the place. Finally, I realized we couldn't go on like this. I had to confront him. I found David in his study, hunched over his laptop. Taking a deep breath, I stepped in. "We need to talk," I said firmly. David looked up, his face filled with guilt and worry. "Olivia, I held up my hand to stop him. "No, I need you to listen." David nodded and closed his laptop. "What happened the other day is unacceptable. I will not tolerate violence in our relationship. Do you understand?" "I do," David said quietly. "I'm so ashamed, Olivia. I never meant to hurt you." "But you did," I replied. "And it's not just about the slap. It's the way you've been treating me, ignoring my feelings, putting your mother's wishes above our marriage." David's shoulders slumped. "You're right. I've been a terrible husband lately," he admitted. "I love you, David," I said, my voice softening a little. "But I'm scared of what might happen if you lose your temper again. Scared for our child." "There won't be a next time," David insisted, looking me straight in the eye. "I swear." I shook my head. "Words aren't enough. We need help, professional help." To my surprise, David nodded. "You're right. I'll do whatever it takes. Marriage counseling, anger management, anything." A small flicker of hope sparked inside me, but I remained cautious. "I appreciate that," I said, "but you need to understand. If anything like this ever happens again, I'm gone. No second chances." "I understand," David said, his tone serious. "I'll make the appointment for counseling first thing tomorrow." True to his word, David scheduled our first session. As we sat in the therapist's office, I could feel the tension coming off him. "So, what brings you here today?" the therapist, Dr. Mitchell, asked. David cleared his throat. I hit my wife. It was a terrible mistake, and I want to make sure it never happens again." Dr. Mitchell stayed calm and neutral. "Olivia, how do you feel about what happened?" "Hurt, angry, scared," I said honestly. "I love David, but I don't know if I can trust him anymore." As the session went on, David tried to explain. "Work has been so stressful lately. My boss is pushing me hard about this big deal." "That's not an excuse," Dr. Mitchell gently interrupted. "Stress doesn't justify violence." David's face turned red. "You're right. I know that. I don't know why I reacted that way." "That's what we're here to figure out," Dr. Mitchell said. "David, have you ever had anger issues before?" As David began to talk about his past, I felt mixed emotions. Part of me was glad he was trying, but another part wondered if it was too little, too late. Later in the session, I found my voice growing stronger. "David, you need to understand that your actions have consequences, not just for me, but for our child, for our future." David nodded, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "I know I want to be better, for you and for our baby," David said. "I'll do whatever it takes." As we left the counseling session, I felt a small glimmer of hope. It was a small step, but maybe it was a step in the right direction. In the weeks that followed, I noticed a gradual change in our relationship. The counseling sessions were tough, but eye-opening. We learned to really listen to each other and to share our feelings without blaming. Slowly, we started rebuilding trust. One evening, as we sat on the porch swing, David turned to me. "I've been thinking about the baby's name," he said cautiously. I tensed, remembering our earlier argument. "I realize now how unfair I was," he continued. "This is our child, and we should choose a name we both love. How about we start fresh and make a list together?" A wave of relief washed over me. "I'd like that," I said with a smile. We spent the next hour coming up with name ideas, laughing at the funny ones. It felt good to be on the same team again. As my due date got closer, I saw more positive changes in David. He was more attentive and willing to compromise, though I knew we still had more work to do. One day, I overheard him on the phone with his mother. "No, Mom, we're not naming the baby after you," he said firmly. "Olivia and I have chosen a name together." I felt proud of him for standing up to her. When labor finally began, David was by my side the whole time. After hours of waiting, I held our baby girl in my arms, filled with love and a sense of accomplishment. "Welcome to the world, Arya Hope," I whispered, tears in my eyes. David squeezed my hand. It's perfect, he said softly, just like her. As we settled into life with our newborn, I reflected on how far we had come. The journey hadn't been easy, but we faced our problems head on. We learned how to communicate, respect each other's boundaries, and compromise. Now, I have a question for you. If you were in Olivia's shoes, would you have given David a second chance after he slapped you, or would you have left immediately? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective might help someone in a similar situation. If you found this story meaningful, please like the video and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content. Your support helps us continue sharing important stories like Olivia's.
It started raining the moment they lowered Jesse's casket into the ground. Not a drizzle, a full-on cold, miserable downpour like the sky was grieving with me. Or maybe mocking me. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. My name is Oakley, and 3 months ago, I buried my husband. The man who made coffee every morning even though he didn't drink it. The man who kissed my forehead before every shift and told me he'd be home safe. He wasn't. One slip, one faulty rig at the construction site, one phone call that shattered everything. I stood there soaked to the bone, clutching the folded flag they handed me like it was supposed to mean something. My fingers were numb, not from the cold, but from holding back the scream that had been lodged in my throat since the call. "Sweetheart," my mother's voice cut through the rain. She stepped under my umbrella without asking. Her mascara was smudged, but her eyes were dry. "We need to talk. It's about the house." I blinked. "What?" My father joined her, his arm around her shoulder like a prop. "We didn't want to bring this up today, but we don't have a choice. The bank, Oakley, we're about to lose the house." I stared at them. The same house I grew up in, the one they always bragged about paying off early. Tessa appeared beside them, all fake tears and dramatic sniffles. "It's bad, Oak. They're behind on everything. They didn't want you to worry, but it's serious." I didn't say anything. Couldn't. My heart was already bleeding. "We wouldn't ask if we weren't desperate," Mom said, gripping my arm. "Jesse would have wanted us to be okay. He was family." That word, family. It hit me like a punch to the gut. "We're not asking for all of it," Dad added quickly. "Just enough to stop the foreclosure. We'll pay you back. Every cent." I don't remember agreeing. I just remember nodding. I remember Tessa hugging me like she'd won something. I remember the way Mom's hand lingered on my purse when I pulled out the checkbook. The insurance money had come in 2 weeks after the funeral. Jesse had been thorough, responsible. He'd taken care of everything, even in death. $480,000. I hadn't touched a cent. I couldn't. It felt like blood money. But they needed help. My parents, my sister, my family. And Jesse would have helped them. He always said, family first, even when they suck. So I wrote the check. $320,000, enough to cover the debt and give them a cushion. I kept a little for myself, just enough to cover rent and groceries for a few months. It felt right, like I was doing something good in the middle of all the pain. They hugged me, told me I was a blessing, promised to keep me updated. Then they disappeared. No calls, no texts, no updates, just silence. At first, I didn't think much of it. They were probably busy dealing with the bank, I told myself. Paperwork, lawyers, whatever. I left voicemails. "Just checking in," I'd say. "Hope everything's okay." Nothing. Maya, my best friend since high school, wasn't buying it. "They're ghosting you," she said over coffee one afternoon. "You gave them 300 grand, Oak. You don't get to be polite anymore." "They're my parents," I mumbled. She raised an eyebrow. "So?" I didn't have an answer. 2 months passed. Rent was coming due again. I picked up extra shifts at the bookstore, canceled my gym membership, and stopped ordering takeout. I didn't touch the last bit of insurance money. I couldn't. That was Jesse's. It felt sacred. Then, out of nowhere, Tessa texted, "Hey, So sorry we've been MIA. Things have been crazy. Let's do brunch soon. I stared at the screen like it might explode. No mention of the house. No mention of the money. I showed Maya. Brunch? She scoffed. Is she serious? I didn't respond. I couldn't. Something in my chest twisted. I didn't want to believe it. Not yet. Then came the video. It was a Tuesday. Freddie, my neighbor across the hall, knocked on my door with a USB drive in hand. You need to see this, he said, eyes serious. Freddie was a drone guy, always flying that thing around the neighborhood. I used to tease him about it, called him Spy Kid. He didn't smile this time. I plugged the drive into my laptop. The footage was clear. A dealership, BMW, my parents and Tessa standing next to a white convertible, laughing, hugging the salesman, signing papers, champagne. I covered my mouth. Then I heard it, clear as day, my father's voice. She actually fell for it. The room spun. I paused the video. They bought a car? I whispered. Freddie nodded. That was 3 weeks ago. I didn't want to assume anything, but I recognized your sister. I couldn't breathe. Maya came over that night. She watched the footage in silence, then turned to me. They lied to you, she said. They stole from you. From Jesse. I sat on the floor, knees to my chest, staring at the paused video. My mother's smile, my father's smug laugh. Tessa's sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. I felt something shift inside me. Like a door I didn't know existed had just creaked open. I didn't cry, not this time. I just whispered, they're going to regret this. I called them. All three, one after the other, straight to voicemail. I waited an hour, tried again, nothing. Maya sat across from me at the kitchen table, arms folded, jaw tight. They're not going to pick up, Oak. You saw the video. They're not hiding it. They don't care. I stared at my phone like it might grow a conscience. I just want to hear them say it. I want to hear them lie to my face. Maya leaned forward. Then let's go to them. I blinked. You mean like show up unannounced. You gave them your husband's life insurance and they ghosted you. You deserve answers. I hesitated. She stood up. I'm driving. Get your shoes. The drive to my parents' place felt longer than it was. My stomach churned the whole way. I kept picturing Jesse's face. How he used to say, your mom's intense, but she means well. He never saw this coming. Neither did I. We pulled up to the house, and I froze. It looked perfect. Fresh paint, new landscaping, a shiny black SUV in the driveway. Not a single sign of financial distress. Maya whistled low. Foreclosure, huh? I got out of the car, my legs stiff. Every step up the walkway felt heavier. I rang the bell. Footsteps. Then the door opened. Tessa. She blinked at me like I was a stranger. Oakley? Oh my God, what are you doing here? I forced a smile. Just thought I'd stop by. It's been a while. She looked past me at Maya, then back. Now's not really a good time. We're in the middle of... Where's Mom? I asked. Before she could answer, Mom appeared behind her, holding a glass of wine. Well, this is a surprise, she said, lips tight. I stepped inside without asking. Maya followed. The living room was spotless. New furniture, marble coffee table, a massive flat screen mounted on the wall. I turned slowly. So, the house is fine. Mom's smile didn't reach her eyes. We managed to work something out with the bank. It was a miracle, really. Tessa chimed in. Yeah, we pulled some strings. You know how it is. I looked at them. You didn't think to tell me? We didn't want to worry you, Mom said quickly. You've been through so much. I nodded. Right, so much. Like burying my husband and giving you $300,000. Tessa shifted uncomfortably. We said we'd pay you back. I pulled out my phone and hit play. The dealership footage filled the room. My father's voice echoed. She actually fell for it. Tessa's face drained of color. Mom's wine glass trembled slightly. I paused the video. So, was that before or after the miracle? Silence. Maya stepped forward. You lied. You stole. And you laughed about it. Mom's voice hardened. You don't understand the pressure we were under. I turned to her. No, I understand perfectly. You saw me broken. You saw me grieving. And you saw an opportunity. Tessa crossed her arms. God, Oakley, it's not like we killed him. Maya's mouth dropped open. I didn't flinch. No, you just danced on his grave. The front door opened. Dad walked in, keys in hand, humming. He stopped when he saw us. His eyes flicked to the paused video on my phone. Ah, so the secret's out. I stared at him. You're not even going to deny it? He shrugged. What's the point? You gave us the money. No one forced you. Maya stepped forward. You manipulated her. Lied about foreclosure. That's fraud. He laughed. Oh, please. What court's going to hear a case about a daughter voluntarily giving money to her family? I looked at him, really looked. And for the first time, I saw it. The smugness, the calculation, the total absence of shame. I turned to leave. Tessa called after me. Wait, Oakley, don't be dramatic. I stopped at the door. You're right. I've been dramatic. Crying, mourning, trusting. That ends today. Back in the car, Maya was fuming. They're monsters, she said, and they're not even hiding it. I stared out the window. They think they've won. She looked at me. What are you going to do? I didn't answer right away. The dealership footage played again in my mind. The laughter, the champagne. I'm going to find out everything, I said. Every lie, every dollar, every secret. Maya nodded. And then, I looked at her. Then I'm going to burn it all down. The next morning, I was at the county records office by 9 a.m. I didn't sleep much. My hands still shook from the night before, but I was done crying. I had a laptop, a notebook, and a list of questions. Hi, I said to the clerk behind the glass. I need property records for 11-29 Maple Drive. She looked it up. You the owner? No, but I'm the daughter. I just need to know if the house has been in foreclosure. She raised an eyebrow. That address? No, ma'am. That home's been refinanced twice in the last 5 years. No foreclosure on file. I blinked. Are you sure? She turned the screen. Positive. Last refi was 18 months ago. Fixed rate. They're current on payments. I stepped back from the counter, heart pounding. Thanks. Outside, I called Maya. They never even were in foreclosure, I said. No surprise there. What's next? I'm going over there. To do what? To see it for myself? Want me to come? No. I think I need to do this alone. The drive to the house felt different this time. I wasn't nervous. I was watching, noticing. I parked a block away and walked up the street, hoodie pulled low, sunglasses on. I wasn't hiding. I just didn't want to give them a heads up. The garage door was open. Inside was the white BMW from the video, polished, gleaming. Dad's voice echoed from the backyard. I slipped around the side fence and peeked through the slats. There they were. My parents and Tessa, sitting by the pool. A new pool. The old one had been filled in years ago. This one had a waterfall feature and a built-in hot tub. Tessa was sipping from a wine glass. I was thinking we could remodel the patio next. Maybe add a bar. What do you think? Mom nodded. We've got the funds, and the weather's perfect for it. Dad laughed. Let's not overdo it. We still have to be subtle. Tessa rolled her eyes. Oakley's not coming back. She's probably too busy crying into Jessie's old shirts. They all laughed. I stepped back, heart in my throat. My fingers curled into fists. I wanted to scream. I wanted to storm in and flip the damn table. But I didn't. I pulled out my phone and hit record. I got it all. Later that night, I sat on Maya's couch, playing the video. She watched in silence, jaw clenched. "They're disgusting," she said. "They're sloppy," I replied, "and that's going to be their downfall." She looked at me. "What's the plan?" I opened my laptop. "First, I'm freezing the rest of the insurance money. Then I'm calling Jesse's old lawyer." "You think he'll help?" "He liked Jesse, and he's sharp. He'll know what to do." Maya nodded. "Good, because this is war." The next morning, I called Mr. Sanders. He'd handled Jesse's will and the insurance paperwork. A quiet, serious man with a voice like gravel and eyes that missed nothing. "Miss," he said after I explained everything, "you're telling me your family fabricated a financial emergency to access your late husband's life insurance?" "Yes, and I have video proof, plus bank records and messages." He was silent for a moment. Then, "Come in tomorrow. Bring everything. We'll talk options." I hung up and exhaled for the first time in hours. That night, I went through my bank statements, every transfer, every check. I printed screenshots of messages from Tessa and Mom, especially the ones referencing saving the house. Maya helped me organize everything into folders. "I can't believe you gave them that much," she said quietly. "I was grieving," I said. "They knew that." She nodded. "And they used it." The next day, I walked into Mr. Sanders' office with a fireproof folder and a flash drive. He listened. He took notes. He watched the dealership video twice. "This is bad," he said finally, "on their part." "Can I press charges?" "Civil, yes, possibly criminal, depending on how the insurance money was used. If they lied about the purpose, and you can prove it, that's fraud. If your sister impersonated you or misrepresented anything to the insurance company, that's worse." I swallowed. "I want to move forward." He nodded. "Then we'll start by freezing the remaining funds. I'll file paperwork today. Then we'll build the case." I stood to leave. "Thank you." He looked at me. "You're doing the right thing." As I stepped outside, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You should know. Tessa called Jesse's job the day he died. She said she was you." My blood ran cold. I called the number. No answer. Just a voicemail box with no name. I texted back. "Who is this?" No reply. I called Maya. "Someone just told me Tessa called Jesse's job pretending to be me, the day he died." "What? Why?" "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." Maya's voice dropped. "Oakley, what if this goes deeper than money?" I stared at the screen, at the silence. "Then I'll dig deeper," I said, until I hit the bottom. Mr. Sanders didn't waste time. By the end of the week, the remaining life insurance funds were frozen. My family couldn't touch a cent more, and they didn't even know it yet. "They'll find out soon enough," he said, sliding a folder across his desk. "We're serving them with a formal request to account for all disbursed funds. If they can't provide documentation, we move to civil court." I nodded. "They won't have anything real, just receipts for wine, cars, and patio furniture. Then we'll bury them in paper." Back at home, Maya was already working. She had her laptop open, spreadsheets pulled up, and a pile of printed text between us. "Okay," she said, pointing. "Here's the timeline. You gave them the check on March 14th. The BMW was purchased March 28th. Pool renovations started early April, all after they told you the house was in foreclosure." I nodded. "And here's the voicemail from Mom on March 10th, saying they were days away from losing everything." She added it to the file. "Perfect. That's misrepresentation. Easy." Freddie came over later with more drone footage. He handed me a flash drive without a word and sat down. "I've got them at the dealership, the pool construction, and, get this, the spa. Tessa got a full-body massage and facial the same week she told you they were eating canned soup." Maya snorted. "Canned soup, my ass." I plugged in the drive and watched. There they were, stepping out of the spa with gift bags and iced lattes. Freddie leaned forward. You want timestamps on everything? Yes, I said, and keep your drone flying. If they sneeze, I want to know. He nodded. Done. The next day, the legal summons went out, one to each of them, hand-delivered, and just like that, the silence broke. My phone rang at 7:12 a.m. It was Mom. I let it go to voicemail. Then Tessa called, then Dad. I didn't pick up. I just sat on the couch, sipping coffee, watching the missed calls pile up. Maya grinned. Let them sweat. At noon, my phone buzzed again. A voicemail from Tessa. Okay, Oakley, what the hell is this? We got some legal crap about the insurance money? You're seriously suing your own family after everything we've done for you? Call me back. I didn't. That night, there was a knock at my door. Maya peeked through the peephole. It's your parents. I opened the door halfway. Mom's face was flushed. Oakley, what is this? Some kind of sick joke? Dad stepped in. You're taking legal action against us? Your own mother and father? I stayed calm. You lied. You stole. You laughed about it. Mom's voice rose. We're your family. You used me, I said. You saw me broken and you cashed in. Dad pointed a finger. You gave us that money willingly. Under false pretenses. That's fraud. Tessa appeared behind them, arms crossed, sunglasses perched on her head like she was starring in a soap opera. You're being dramatic, she said. It was just money. Maya stepped beside me. It was her husband's life insurance, not a birthday check. Tessa rolled her eyes. Whatever. You can't prove anything. I smiled. Actually, I can. I pulled out my phone and tapped play. The dealership footage, the laughter, the champagne, my dad's voice. She actually fell for it. They all froze. I let it play twice before turning it off. You're going to regret this, Mom said quietly. No, I replied. You are. The door slammed behind them. 2 days later, Mr. Sanders called. They've responded through a lawyer, denying everything, claiming the funds were a gift. Expected, I said, but there's something else. I sat up straighter. What? I got a call from someone at Jesse's company. They said a woman called the day of his accident, pretending to be you, asking about the insurance process. That's not standard. My throat tightened. Did they say who? They didn't know her name, but they said she sounded young, pushy, asked if the claim would be fast-tracked. I hung up and called Jesse's old supervisor. I'd met him once, at the funeral. Hi, it's Oakley. I need to ask you something. Strange. He remembered the call. Yeah, I thought it was you, but now that you mention it, the voice was off. She kept saying she was your sister, then corrected herself. I swallowed. Do you have a recording? I'll check. That night, I went through old texts between me and Tessa. I found one from the day Jesse died. So sorry, Oak. Let me know if you need anything. Love you. It was sent at 10:42 a.m. Jesse's accident happened at 11:15. She knew before I did. I stared at the screen until it blurred. Then I opened my laptop and started a new folder. Tessa, possible insurance fraud. I added everything. Maya sat beside me, quiet. You okay? No, I said, but I'm getting there. She nodded. Good. Because they're about to find out who they messed with. I found her at the salon. Tessa always posted her location on her stories like she was a celebrity. Self-care day with a boomerang of her holding a pink smoothie. I didn't even have to zoom in to see the name of the place. I walked in just as she was stepping out of the massage room, robe on, hair tied in a silk wrap. She froze when she saw me. Wow, she said. Didn't expect to see you here. I smiled. I figured we should talk, privately. The receptionist was already eyeing us. Tessa sighed. Fine. 5 minutes. We stepped outside into the parking lot. Her BMW gleamed in the sun like a slap in the face. I didn't waste time. You called Jesse's job the day he died. Her expression didn't change, but her eyes flicked, just for a second. I don't know what you're talking about. You said you were me. Asked about the insurance claim. Before I even knew he was gone. She shrugged. I was trying to help. I took a step closer. You impersonated me. Tessa rolled her eyes. Oh, please. It was one call. I was just trying to figure out how long the process would take. You were a wreck. You didn't even tell me he was dead yet. She looked away. I found out through someone at the site. I just wanted to know what we were dealing with. We? She turned back, arms crossed. Don't act like you didn't need help. You were falling apart. You couldn't even get out of bed. You weren't helping me. You were helping yourself. She smirked. So what? It's not like I forged anything. I asked a question. Big deal. You lied. You used my name. That's fraud. Her face twisted. You're really going to take this to court? Over a phone call? No, I said. Over everything. The money, the lies, the fact that you celebrated Jesse's death like it was a lottery win. She scoffed. Don't be dramatic. I pulled out my phone and opened the folder. You want to hear what you texted Mom the day of the funeral? I read it aloud. She looks like a ghost in that dress. Bet she doesn't even realize she gave us more than we asked for. Tessa's face drained of color. I kept going. Once the check clears, I'm booking Cabo. She lunged for the phone. I stepped back. Don't touch me. You went through my phone? She hissed. No. You backed it up to the cloud. Jesse set it up for you, remember? She looked like she might spit. You used my grief, I said. You used my husband's death. Tessa's voice dropped. You were always the favorite, the golden one. Jesse was perfect. You had the life I was supposed to have. I stared at her. So you stole it? She didn't answer. I turned to go. You think you're better than us now? She snapped. Because you lawyered up? I stopped. No, I think I'm finally seeing you for who you are. I got in my car and drove straight to Maya's. She opened the door before I even knocked. Well? She admitted it. Said she called pretending to be me. Said I was falling apart, so it was justified. Maya's jaw tightened. That's not just fraud. That's impersonation. Maybe even wire fraud, depending on what she said to the company. I nodded. We need to add it to the case. We sat down at her kitchen table, laptops open, files spread out. I forwarded the audio recording I'd secretly taken of Tessa's confession to Mr. Sanders. He replied within the hour. This changes things. We'll be adding criminal impersonation and misrepresentation to the civil suit, also looking into federal fraud statutes. I exhaled. Maya handed me a glass of water. You okay? No, but I'm not scared anymore. She smiled. Good, because they should be. The next day, I went through more of Jesse's things. I found his old phone, still functional, still logged into his email. I wasn't sure what I was looking for until I saw a thread between him and my dad. Subject line, helping Oakley's family. I clicked. Dad had asked Jesse if he'd consider loaning them $50,000 to help with some home repairs. Jesse declined politely, said we were saving for a house of our own. The email was dated 6 months before he died. I forwarded it to Mr. Sanders. Later that night, I got another anonymous text. Check Tessa's Venmo from March 15th. She split a payment for the car with your dad. I opened the app, searched her public transactions. There it was. BMW down payment. Paid to Dad, with a champagne emoji. I stared at it for a long time. Then I screenshotted it, saved it, and added it to the evidence folder. Maya looked over my shoulder. They really thought you'd never look. They thought I'd just stay broken. She nodded. They don't know you anymore. I closed the laptop. They never did. They showed up at my apartment on a Sunday. I was folding laundry when the knock came. Not a polite tap. A full-on, angry, impatient bam, bam, bam. Maya peeked through the peephole. It's them, and they brought the damn car. I opened the door slowly. There they were. Mom in designer sunglasses, Dad in a crisp polo, Tessa in heels too high for daylight. And behind them, parked like a trophy, the white BMW. Mom stepped forward. We need to talk. I leaned against the doorframe. About what? The lawsuit? The fraud? The impersonation? Dad held up a hand. Let's not do this here. We came to make peace. I crossed my arms. You brought your lawyer? No, he said. We came as family. Maya let out a laugh from behind me. That's rich. Tessa flipped her hair. Can we come in or not? I stepped aside. Sure, I've got something for you, actually. They filed in like they owned the place. Mom wrinkled her nose at the laundry basket. Tessa rolled her eyes at the IKEA furniture. We've been thinking, Dad started, sitting on the edge of my couch like it might stain him. The whole legal thing. It's gotten out of hand. We're willing to return some of the money. Some? I asked. 50,000, he said. That's fair. I raised an eyebrow. You stole over 300, Mom chimed in. It was never about stealing. It was about survival. Family helping family. Tessa added, besides, you still have some of it, right? Maya stood up. You're unbelievable. Dad ignored her. We're willing to settle this quietly. No court, no drama, but we need a little help right now. I tilted my head. Help? Tessa sighed. We're doing a surprise renovation. The city's giving us crap about permits. We're short 10 grand. I blinked. You came here in a BMW to ask me for more money? Mom smiled like it was a reasonable request. Just a small loan. We'll pay you back. I walked over to the TV stand and picked up the remote. Funny you should mention the dealership. Tessa narrowed her eyes. What? I turned on the TV. The dealership footage played instantly. Them laughing, signing papers, clinking glasses. Then my dad's voice. She actually fell for it. Their faces dropped. I let it loop once, then twice. No one spoke. Finally, I turned it off and faced them. I saved something of yours too, I said. Dad stood up. Where did you get that? Doesn't matter. Mom's hands trembled. You can't use that in court. It's illegal. Maya stepped forward. Actually, it's not. It's public footage, captured legally and admissible. Tessa's voice cracked. You've been spying on us? You've been robbing me, I said. So yeah, I started paying attention. Dad's voice dropped. You don't want to go down this road, Oakley. I'm already on it. He stepped closer. You think you're better than us now because you've got a lawyer and a folder full of receipts? No, I said, because I have truth and you have lies. Mom reached out. Sweetheart, I pulled back. Don't. You lost the right to call me that. Tessa's voice turned cold. You're going to destroy this family. I looked at her. You destroyed it the moment you cashed in on my husband's death. They stood there, silent. Then Maya said, You should go, before we call security. Dad opened his mouth, then closed it. He turned and walked out. Mom followed, heels clicking like gunshots. Tessa lingered for a second. You think this makes you powerful? She asked. No, I said, but it makes me free. She scoffed and stormed out. The door slammed. Maya exhaled. Holy shit! I sat down, heart pounding. She grinned. You didn't even flinch. I've done enough crying, I said. Now it's their turn. We spent the rest of the day organizing everything. Footage, texts, emails, bank transfers, timestamps. Mr. Sanders had already drafted the civil suit. Now we were adding impersonation, fraud, emotional damages, I emailed him the dealership footage and the audio of Tessa's confession. He replied within an hour. This is more than enough. They're going to fold. I stared at the screen. Maya handed me a glass of water. You okay? I nodded. I think I'm finally starting to be. She smiled. You were right. You saved something of theirs. Now it's going to save you. I looked out the window. The BMW was gone, but the damage was done, and the reckoning had just begun. They walked into Mr. Sanders' office like they still had the upper hand. Tessa wore a tight blazer and heels that clicked with every step. Mom had on pearls and a forced smile. Dad's tie was crooked, but his smirk was intact. They brought a lawyer, some guy in a cheap suit who looked like he hadn't read a single page of their file. I sat across the table with Maya beside me and Mr. Sanders at the head. Let's begin, he said, calm and cold. We're here to discuss the formal response to the civil suit filed by my client, Oakley, regarding the misappropriation of life insurance funds, emotional damages, and fraudulent misrepresentation. Dad leaned forward. This whole thing is a misunderstanding. Mr. Sanders didn't blink. We'll let the evidence speak for itself. He opened a folder and slid a stack of documents across the table. These are certified bank records, text messages, drone footage, and a recorded confession from Tessa regarding impersonation and misuse of funds. Tessa's lawyer barely touched the papers. This all seems circumstantial. Mr. Sanders smiled faintly. Let's start with the dealership footage. He hit play on the small screen in the center of the table. The video filled the room, the three of them laughing, signing the BMW paperwork, clinking glasses. Then Dad's voice. She actually fell for it. No one spoke. Mr. Sanders continued like he was reading a grocery list. Following that, we have Venmo transactions linking the car down payment to the insurance money, time-stamped 2 weeks after the funds were transferred. He flipped to a second page. We also have audio of Tessa admitting to impersonating Oakley in a phone call to Jesse's employer, inquiring about the insurance claim before Oakley was even notified of his death. Tessa shifted in her seat. Her lawyer whispered something. She didn't respond. Mom finally spoke. We're family. This shouldn't be happening in a courtroom. Mr. Sanders looked up. You're correct. It should have never happened at all. Dad's smirk was gone. What do you want? I leaned forward. Everything, Tessa scoffed. You're not getting a dime back. Mr. Sanders didn't flinch. Actually, we're seeking full restitution of the misused funds, damages for emotional distress, and potential criminal charges for impersonation and fraud. The IRS has also been notified. Their lawyer paled. The IRS? Mr. Sanders nodded. Yes, there are several large cash purchases that were never reported. The audit's already underway. Mom's hands trembled. You wouldn't do that. I already did, I said. Tessa's voice cracked. You're going to destroy us. I looked her straight in the eye. You destroyed yourselves. Dad stood up, hands on the table. You think this makes you strong? You think Jesse would have wanted this? I stood too. Jesse would have wanted justice, and I'm making sure he gets it. Maya placed a folder in front of them. You can settle now or take your chances in court, but either way, this doesn't end on your terms. Their lawyer whispered again. This time, Dad listened. Tessa's eyes were glassy. You're not the same person. No, I said. I'm not. Mr. Sanders stood. We'll give you 48 hours to decide. After that, we proceed with the full suit. They filed out, slower this time. No heels clicking, no smug smiles. When the door closed, Maya turned to me. You did it. I sat back down, heart pounding. Not yet. But they know what's coming. Mr. Sanders nodded. They'll settle. They don't want this going to trial. I stared at the empty chairs across the table. Good. I want this to hurt. Later that night, I got a text from Tessa. You win. Happy now? I didn't reply. Instead, I opened Jesse's old voicemail, the one I couldn't bring myself to delete. Hey, babe. Just checking in. I'll be home late, but I love you. Always. I played it twice. Then I whispered, I'm getting it back, Jesse. All of it. The letter came by courier. Thick envelope. Gold seal. No return address. Maya stood beside me as I opened it. Well, she asked, eyes wide. I scanned the top page. They settled. She grinned. All of it? Every cent. Plus damages. They agreed to pay back the full amount, plus interest, and cover my legal fees. Maya let out a breath. They folded. They had no choice. Inside the envelope were copies of signed agreements. Tessa's name, my parents' signatures, a bank account listed for restitution payments. The BMW was already repossessed. The pool company filed a lien on their house. And the IRS? Still digging. They're going to lose everything, Maya said. I nodded. They already did. That night, I boxed up the last of Jesse's things. Not because I wanted to forget him, but because I didn't need to hold on to the pain anymore. His hoodie still smelled like him. I folded it carefully and placed it in the bin marked Keep. There was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Mom standing there, alone, holding a manila envelope. I'm not here to beg, she said. Good, I replied, stepping aside but not inviting her in. She looked tired, smaller somehow. Her hair wasn't done, and her usual perfume was replaced with something bitter. Regret, maybe. I wanted to give you this, she said, handing me the envelope. I opened it. Inside were old photos. Me and Jesse at our wedding, at Christmas, laughing on the beach. I hadn't seen these in years. I found them in a drawer, she said. Figured you'd want them. I didn't say anything. She shifted. We're losing the house. I know. Tessa moved in with a friend. Your father's under audit. We're not doing well. I looked at her. You came here for sympathy? No, she said quickly. I came because I wanted to say something. I waited. I'm sorry, she said. We were wrong. All of it. I don't expect forgiveness. I wanted you to know that. I nodded once. Thanks for the photos. She hesitated. You were always the strong one. We just never saw it. I didn't respond. She turned to go but paused at the door. You're not like us, Oakley. That's a good thing. Then she left. I closed the door behind her and locked it. The next morning, I sat in front of my mic and hit record. Welcome back to the grief seat, I said. Today we're talking about betrayal, not from strangers, but from the people who swore they loved you the most. Maya sat across from me, monitoring the levels. I lost my husband, I continued, and then I lost my family. But what I gained was clarity and a spine I didn't know I had. We recorded for an hour, raw, honest, no filters. After, Maya leaned back. That was your best one yet. It felt good, I said, like I'm finally saying the things I was too scared to say. You think they'll listen? I shrugged. Doesn't matter. It's not for them. Later, I walked past the bookstore where Jesse used to wait for me after shifts. I stood outside for a minute, watching the reflection of the street in the window. A kid inside dropped a book, and the sound made me flinch. But then I smiled. I kept walking. At the park, I sat on our old bench, the one with the carved initials. I ran my fingers over the letters. Oh, play. I pulled out my phone and opened the final transfer confirmation. The money was back in my account. Every dollar. Maya texted, Drinks tonight? You earned it. I replied, Absolutely. As I stood to leave, an older woman nearby smiled at me. You look like someone who just let go of something heavy, she said. I smiled back. Yeah, I did. Back at home, I poured a glass of wine and opened the window. The city buzzed below, life moving forward. I pulled out Jesse's voicemail one more time. Hey, babe, just checking in. I'll be home late, but I love you. Always. I whispered, "I love you too." Then I deleted it. Not because I was letting go of him, but because I didn't need the pain to remember the love. They made my loss a transaction. I made their lies a legacy. The first time I realized my family saw me as broken was at my cousin Jayla's bridal shower. I wasn't crying in the bathroom or anything dramatic like that. I was actually smiling at my laptop screen while everyone else cooed over lingerie and kitchen gadgets. My name is Mallory, and at 23, I had just launched my first AI security platform. The notification pinging on my screen showed 10,000 concurrent users, a milestone that should have felt like a victory. Instead, I was trying to make myself smaller in the corner of Aunt Sandra's oversized living room, pretending not to hear the whispers. Still with those computers, Aunt Sandra's voice carried across the room. It's not natural for a girl her age. I kept typing, my fingers flying across the keyboard as I monitored the system logs. The platform was handling the traffic beautifully, exactly as I designed it to. "Mallory!" Jayla's voice cut through my concentration. "Put that thing away. We're about to do presents." I looked up to find 20 pairs of eyes on me. Some pitying, some annoyed, all judging. The room was decorated in pink and white, with delicate paper flowers hanging from the ceiling. Everyone else wore sundresses and pearls. I had on black jeans and my favorite hoodie. "Just 1 minute," I said, saving my changes. "Critical update." "Oh, honey." Aunt Sandra's heels clicked across the hardwood floor. "The only critical update you need is to your dating profile. When was the last time you went out with a nice young man?" Laughter rippled through the room. I forced a smile, the kind I'd perfected over years of these gatherings. "Actually," I started, but Jayla cut me off. "Palmer says he has some friends from medical school, single doctors." She winked, adjusting her massive engagement ring. "I could set you up." "I'm good, thanks." I closed my laptop. "Let's do presents." The next hour was torture by tissue paper. Each gift came with a story about marriage, about how Jayla and Palmer were meant to be, about the importance of family. With every bow I had to watch her untie, every recipe card I had to pretend to care about, my phone buzzed in my pocket. More users, more validation, more proof that I wasn't crazy for choosing this path. Then came Aunt Sandra's toast. "To my beautiful daughter." She raised her champagne flute. "Who knows that true happiness comes from love, not algorithms?" She looked directly at me. "Some of us are meant to build homes, not hide behind screens with our robot friends." More laughter, more pitying looks. Jayla beamed, basking in the attention. I took a sip of champagne and opened my laptop again, tuning out the rest of the toast. A new notification popped up, this one different from the others. My heart stopped. "Warning. Unauthorized access attempt detected. Source. Internal network. Pattern match. J. Cooper to timestamp. 3 minutes ago. Everything okay over there with your little computer games?" Jayla's voice dripped with fake concern. I looked up sharply. She was watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read, her perfectly manicured fingers wrapped around her glass. "Fine," I said, but my mind was racing. J.R. Cooper 22. Jayla Cooper. The timestamp matched exactly when she'd walked behind my chair to get more champagne. "You know," she continued, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Palmer says technology addiction is a real problem these days. He sees it in his practice all the time. People choosing screens over real connections." I started running diagnostics, my fingers trembling slightly. The access attempt had targeted core security protocols, not random at all. Someone with basic coding knowledge had tried to breach my system. "Mallory, are you even listening?" Aunt Sandra's voice was sharp. "Always," I said, not looking up. "Just like I was listening when you redirected my trust fund last year, the one Mom left for my education." The room went silent. I hadn't meant to say it out loud, but there it was. Aunt Sandra's face went white. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Of course not." I stood up, gathering my things. Congratulations, Jayla. I'm sure you and Palmer will be very happy. As I walked out, my phone buzzed one final time. Another warning, but this one made me smile. Attempted breach failed. Countermeasures deployed. Target identified and logged. They thought I was wasting my life with computers. They thought I was choosing isolation over family. But they never understood. I wasn't hiding behind screens. I was building something they couldn't touch, couldn't control, couldn't break. And now I had proof that at least one of them was scared enough to try to break in. The game was just beginning. 5 years can change everything. I sat in the gleaming boardroom of Castle Key Bank, 40 stories above Manhattan, watching the morning headlines scroll across my tablet. Hawkshield AI prevents billion-dollar cyber heist. Your system caught it 12 minutes before the transfer. Leonardo, my CTO, was saying. The Swiss are practically begging for an exclusive contract. I nodded, only half listening. The real victory wasn't in the headlines. It was in the quiet satisfaction of proving everyone wrong. My robot friends had just saved one of the largest banks in Europe from catastrophe. Earth to Mallory, Leonardo waved his hand in front of my face. The board meeting starts in 10 minutes. Are you ready? Always ready, I said, straightening my blazer. Gone were the hoodies and jeans. Today I wore Armani and carried a designer briefcase, not because I cared about labels, but because appearance was currency in these rooms. Rosalie, my mentor on the board, intercepted us in the hallway. Mallory, we need to talk before the meeting. Her expression was tense. There's been an emergency addition to the agenda. She pulled me into a side office, closing the door. A bailout request came in last night. Dawson Medical Group. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. Palmer Dawson? You know him? I kept my face neutral. He's married to my cousin. Shit. Rosalie ran a hand through her silver-streaked hair. I should recuse you from the vote. What exactly are they asking for? $15 million. Emergency capital injection. Their primary facility is underwater, and they're facing some kind of litigation risk. She paused. The numbers don't add up, Mallory, but there's pressure from above to push it through. My phone buzzed. Leonardo had sent me the loan application documents. I scanned them quickly, years of pattern recognition kicking in. These financials are doctored, I said. Look at the quarterly revenue jumps. They're too perfect. Can you prove it? I pulled up Hawkshield's financial analysis module on my tablet. Give me 5 minutes. The boardroom filled while I worked. I barely noticed the other members filing in until Palmer himself walked through the door. He'd aged since I'd last seen him. His face was puffy, his designer suit slightly ill-fitting. He didn't recognize me at first. Mr. Dawson, the board chairman began, please present your case. Palmer launched into a polished speech about market pressures and temporary setbacks. I let him talk while my AI crawled through his company's digital footprint. Just need bridge financing to weather this storm, he was saying. Dawson Medical Group has an impeccable reputation. My tablet pinged. I looked up. Is that why you've been transferring funds to an offshore account in the Caymans? Palmer froze mid-sentence. Now he recognized me. I don't know what you're talking about. I turned my tablet around, displaying the transaction records. 7 transfers in the last month, all just under reporting thresholds. Clever. I swiped to the next screen. And these casino charges in Macau, are they part of your medical research? This is absurd, Palmer sputtered. You can't access private banking records. They're not private when they're tied to loan applications, I said calmly. And they're not private when they trigger our fraud detection algorithms. The board chairman leaned forward. Mr. Dawson, is this true? Palmer's face had gone from red to white. This is a personal vendetta. Mallory has always been jealous of her cousin, my wife. Jealous? I laughed, the sound sharp in the quiet room. Of what? Your fake success? Your gambling debts? Or maybe the malpractice suit you're trying to settle quietly? The room erupted in whispers. Palmer lunged forward. but security was already moving. "You bitch," he hissed. "Jayla was right about you. Always hiding behind your computers, thinking you're better than everyone." "The difference," I cut him off, "is that my computers don't lie." Meeting adjourned. As security escorted Palmer out, Rosalie touched my arm. "You should have recused yourself." "Why?" "Because he's family." I gathered my things. Family doesn't steal trust funds. Family doesn't mock your dreams. And family definitely doesn't try to hack your systems to cover up their fraud. My phone buzzed again. A text from Jayla. "How dare you humiliate my husband like this? You'll regret it." I showed the message to Leonardo, who had appeared at my side. He whistled low. "What are you going to do?" I smiled, thinking of that bridal shower 5 years ago, of all the parties and gatherings where I'd been the family disappointment. Nothing. Karma's doing it for me. The view from 40 stories up was beautiful, but revenge was better. "You need to see this." Delilah, my junior engineer, burst into my office the next morning. Her usual cheerful demeanor was replaced with worry. "Someone's been probing our old code base." I followed her to the Security Operations Center, where monitors displayed real-time threat analytics. She pulled up a log file that made my blood run cold. "J-Tio, Cooper, Saren 22, access attempt, legacy system V1.0, status, dormant script detected, origin, historical timestamp, 5 years prior." "That's impossible," I muttered, leaning closer. That system was offline before we even incorporated. Leonardo appeared behind us, coffee in hand. "Not impossible, just deliberate." He pointed to the timestamp. "This was planted during your beta testing phase. Ring any bells?" The memory hit me like a thunderbolt. Jayla, hovering over my shoulder at another family gathering, my mother's memorial service. I'd been debugging my first security prototype, trying to lose myself in code instead of grief. "Let me see your little project," she'd said, feigning interest for once. "Maybe I can help." "You don't know anything about coding," I'd replied. "No, but I know someone who does." She'd smiled that perfect practice smile. "Remember Darius from college? He's doing amazing things in tech now." Darius Perkins. The name triggered another alert in my mind. "Pull up everything we have on Darius Perkins," I told Delilah. The screens filled with data. Corporate filings, news articles, social media. There he was, now CEO of Rival Tech Solutions, a direct competitor, and listed as a business partner in Dawson Medical Group's latest venture. Well, Leonardo whistled. "Looks like your cousin's been playing both sides." My phone rang. Rosalie. "Turn on the financial news," she said without preamble. The headline scrolled across the bottom of CNBC. "Rival Tech Solutions announces breakthrough in medical AI security, partners with Dawson Medical Group." "They're using our code," Delilah said, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "The dormant script. It was a backdoor. They've been stealing our research for years." I should have felt angry, but instead, a cold clarity washed over me. "Get me everything on the trust fund transfers from 5 years ago." "Mallory," Leonardo warned, "some doors are better left closed. Not this one." Hours later, we had our answer. The paper trail was buried deep, but AI doesn't miss patterns. The family trust, meant to be split between Jayla and me after my mother's death, had been systematically drained. First through legal transfers orchestrated by Aunt Sandra, then through a series of investments in shell companies. One of those companies? Rival Tech Solutions. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Remember when you used to cry about being different? Some things never change. Darius, still trying to get under my skin after all these years." I was about to reply when Delilah gasped. "Boss, they're launching an attack. Rival Tech is trying to force their way into our current systems." "Let them," I said, watching the intrusion attempts multiply across our screens. "They're using our old code against us, but they forgot one thing." "What's that?" Leonardo asked. I wrote that code. I know exactly how to turn it against them. My fingers flew across the keyboard, muscle memory from countless nights of coding taking over. In the original system, I'd built a failsafe, a self-destruct sequence that would trigger if anyone tried to weaponize the code. There, I hit enter. Watch. On the screens, Rivaltech's attack suddenly reversed. Their own systems began failing, their stolen code eating itself from the inside out. My phone rang again. Jayla this time. What did you do? She screamed. Darius says everything's crashing. Funny how karma works, I replied calmly. Did he tell you about the backdoor you helped him plant? Or about how he used your husband's medical practice to launder research theft? Silence on the other end. By the way, I continued, Aunt Sandra's investment in Rivaltech, the one she made with my trust fund money, it's worthless now. The SEC will have questions about that. You're destroying our lives, Jayla whispered. No, I corrected her. You did that yourself. I'm just letting the truth catch up. After I hung up, Leonardo touched my shoulder. You okay? I looked at my team. Delilah's fierce loyalty, Leonardo's steady presence. This was my real family now. Better than okay, I said, but we're not done yet. On my screen, another alert flashed. Incoming email from Griffin Cooper. Subject, we need to talk. Time, now, my father. The last piece of the puzzle. Ready for round 2? Leonardo asked. I nodded, opening the email. Family reunions aren't over yet. I chose the most public place possible to meet my father, the crowded cafe in the lobby of my office building. 5 years of silence, and now he wanted to talk? Fine, but on my terms. He was already there when I arrived, looking older than I remembered. His banker's suit hung loose on his frame, his hair more gray than brown. Mallory, he stood as I approached. You look successful? I sat down without hugging him. Amazing what following your dreams can do. The waiter appeared. I ordered an espresso. Griffin got water. Sandra called me, he said after an uncomfortable silence. She's hysterical. Something about Rivaltech stocks crashing? Funny how she runs to you when her schemes fall apart. I pulled out my tablet. Want to see what else she's been running to you about? I slid the device across the table. Photos filled the screen. Griffin and Sandra at her beach house in the Hamptons, dated 2 weeks after my mother's funeral. More photos, more dates, all during the time the trust was being drained. You knew, I said quietly. You knew what she was doing with my inheritance. He wouldn't meet my eyes. It's complicated, Mallory. Sandra, she had a plan. For all of us. A plan? I laughed bitterly. Was the plan to fund Jayla's husband's fake medical empire, or to invest my money in a company trying to steal my work? You don't understand. No, you don't understand. I leaned forward. I found the emails, Dad. You and Sandra, discussing how to protect the family legacy from my risky tech ventures. You chose her side. Every time. A notification popped up on my phone. Leonardo. Darius Perkins just called a press conference. Turning it on now. The cafe's TV screen switched to the news. There was Darius, looking polished in his CEO suit, Jayla standing supportively behind him. Recent system failures at Rivaltech Solutions were the result of a targeted attack, he was saying. We have evidence linking this corporate sabotage to Hawkshield AI and its founder. Targeted attack? I scoffed. They tried to hack us using code they stole years ago. The system defended itself. Griffin was watching the screens, his face pale. Is this true? What's true is that your precious niece helped plant malicious code in my first prototype. What's true is that you all thought I was wasting my life while you invested my inheritance in the very people trying to destroy me. My phone buzzed again. Delilah. Boss, you need to see this. Found something in Sandra's email archives. I opened the attachment. It was an old email chain between Sandra and my mother, dated just before her death. Promise me you'll support Mallory's dreams, my mother had written. The trust is for her future, whatever future she chooses. Sandra's response, Of course, sister. I'll make sure the money goes exactly where it needs to go. My hands shook. She promised, Mom, and you let her break that promise. Sandra said it was for your own good, Griffin whispered, that you needed to learn real-world values. Real-world values? I stood up, my chair scraping loudly. Like loyalty? Like keeping your word? Like standing up for your own daughter? The cafe had gone quiet. On the TV, Darius was still talking, but now the ticker below showed Rivaltech's stock price in free fall. I built something real, I said, my voice steady despite the anger burning in my chest. Something that matters. While you and Sandra were playing family politics, I was creating systems that protect people's lives and livelihoods. Mallory, please. No. I gathered my things. You don't get to plead now. Not after 5 years of silence. Not after choosing Sandra's lies over your own daughter's truth. My phone lit up again. Leonardo. SEC just announced an investigation into Rivaltech and Dawson Medical. They're looking into the trust fund transfers too. I showed the message to Griffin. Better warn Sandra. Her plan is about to become a legal matter. He slumped in his chair, looking defeated. What do you want from me, Mallory? Nothing, I replied. Not anymore. I stopped needing anything from this family the day you all decided I wasn't worth believing in. As I walked away, I heard him call after me. I'm sorry. Too little. Too late. The time for apologies had passed. Now was the time for consequences. Outside, the autumn air was crisp and clean. My phone buzzed one final time. Rosalie. Emergency board meeting tomorrow. Dawson Medical Group situation escalating. You ready? I smiled, thinking of Jayla standing behind Darius at that press conference, still trying to destroy what I'd built. Ready, I typed back. Time to end this. The emergency board meeting wasn't in the usual conference room. They moved us to the Crisis Management Center on the top floor, a clear sign that things had escalated beyond a simple loan default. Palmer and Jayla were already there when I arrived, along with their lawyer. Jayla wore her designer armor, Chanel suit, perfect makeup, Ice Queen composure. But I could see the cracks. Let's begin, the chairman announced. Mr. Dawson, in light of recent developments— This is a witch hunt, Palmer interrupted. These allegations are baseless. I opened my laptop. Are the offshore accounts baseless? Or the malpractice settlements you've been hiding? You've been digging into private medical records? Their lawyer demanded. No need to dig. I projected my screen onto the wall. Your patients have been very vocal on social media. Shall we read some reviews? Jayla's composure cracked. Stop it, Mallory. Just stop. Like you stopped when you helped Darius plant that backdoor in my code. I pulled up the evidence. Or when you helped Sandra steal my inheritance. We were protecting you, Jayla snapped. You were throwing your life away on some tech fantasy while I was building a real future. The board members shifted uncomfortably. Rosalie cleared her throat. Perhaps we should focus on the financial irregularities. Oh, let's, I agreed. Palmer, want to explain why your medical equipment purchases don't match your patient records? Or why insurance claims from your practice spike exactly when Rivaltech needs capital? Palmer's face went red. You don't understand the medical industry, but I understand numbers. I switched to another screen. Every insurance claim, every equipment purchase, every consultation fee. It's all here. AI doesn't miss patterns, Palmer, and your patterns scream fraud. Enough! Jayla stood up, mascara starting to run. You think you're so perfect with your algorithms and your success, but you're still that weird little girl hiding behind a computer screen. I stayed seated, calm. Better than hiding behind fake accounts and stolen money. Miss Cooper, the chairman addressed Jayla, are you aware that assisting in corporate espionage is a federal crime? Jayla's lawyer whispered something urgent in her ear. She ignored him. Everything we did as a family, she insisted. Aunt Sandra said, Sandra said what? I cut in. That it was okay to steal from her dead sister's daughter? That funding Palmer's gambling debts with my trust fund was protecting me? The room went silent. Palmer's face had gone from red to gray. Gambling debts? The chairman asked sharply. Macau, I confirmed. Every month. Coincidentally matching the amounts withdrawn from various shell companies funded by my trust. Palmer grabbed Jayla's arm. We need to leave. Now. Running won't help, I said quietly. The SEC has everything. So does the medical board and the insurance commission. You vindictive bitch, Palmer snarled. You've ruined us. No, Rosalie spoke up. Based on these documents, you ruined yourselves. The board votes to not only deny the emergency loan, but to forward all evidence to the relevant authorities. Jayla started crying, her perfect makeup streaming down her face. You don't understand. We needed that money. The lawsuits are coming, and Darius said, Darius? The chairman's eyebrows shot up. Darius Perkins? The CEO under investigation for corporate espionage? Former CEO, I corrected, checking my phone. He just resigned. Something about pursuing other opportunities. Palmer slumped in his chair. It's over. It was over the moment you decided to build your success on lies, I told him. The truth always catches up. Security arrived to escort them out. As Jayla passed my chair, she stopped. Mom was right about you, she whispered. You'll always be alone with your computers. I thought about Leonardo waiting in my office, about Delilah's fierce loyalty, about Rosalie's mentorship. I'm not alone, I replied. I'm just not with people who tried to break me. After they left, the chairman called a recess. Rosalie stayed behind. That couldn't have been easy, she said. They're still your family. No, I gathered my things. Family doesn't try to destroy you. Family doesn't steal your inheritance or mock your dreams or help your competitors steal your work. So what now? My phone buzzed. A message from Sandra. We need to talk, please. I showed Rosalie the text. Now we finish this. All of it. Be careful, she warned. Cornered people are dangerous. So am I said, heading for the door. They just never believed it until now. The elevator ride down felt like descent into another confrontation. But this time, I wasn't the family disappointment hiding behind a screen. This time, I was the storm they never saw coming. Sandra was waiting in my office when I returned. She'd aged since I'd last seen her, but her pearls were still perfect, her posture still rigid with superiority. Leonardo stood nearby, arms crossed, watching her like a hawk. You can go, Leo, I said. You sure? He didn't take his eyes off Sandra. I'm sure. I sat behind my desk. My aunt was just leaving anyway. Mallory, Sandra's voice trembled slightly. We need to fix this. The scandal, it's destroying everything. Everything you built on lies? You mean? I pulled up the trust fund documents on my monitor. Want to explain these transfers? You were young, reckless. We were protecting the family legacy. By stealing from me? I turned the screen toward her. By funding Palmer's gambling and Darius's corporate theft? She flinched. It wasn't like that. We had plans. My phone buzzed. Delilah. Boss, we found something big. Coming up now. The door burst open. Delilah rushed in, tablet in hand. Sorry to interrupt, but look at this. She placed the tablet on my desk. Sandra's been busy this morning. Email records filled the screen. Urgent messages to offshore accounts, transfer requests, desperate attempts to move money. Trying to hide the rest of my trust fund? I asked Sandra. Or just covering Palmer's tracks? You don't understand, Sandra's composure cracked. Palmer, he promised the investments would pay off. The medical practice was supposed to be our security. Security? I laughed. It was a front. Palmer was laundering money through fake equipment purchases. Jayla helped Darius steal my technology, and you funded all of it. I had to protect Jayla. Sandra stood up, her voice rising. She was going to have a real life, a normal life, unlike me. I stayed seated, calm. The weird niece who embarrassed you with her computers? You were just like your mother, Sandra spat, always thinking you were better than us with your big dreams and your fancy education. The words hit like a slap. My mother believed in me. She left that trust fund so I could chase those dreams. Your mother was a fool. Sandra's mask finally shattered. She filled your head with nonsense about changing the world when you should have been learning to fit in. Leonardo stepped forward, but I held up a hand to stop him. Fit in? I pulled up another document. Like this? Your email to the family lawyer the day after Mom died, planning how to redirect my inheritance? Sandra went pale. Where did you get that? I'm good with computers, remember? Mom's estate documents, the trust fund transfers, your secret meetings with my father, it's all here. I pressed a button, and now it's all with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. You wouldn't, she whispered. We're family. Family? I stood up slowly. Family doesn't steal from orphan nieces. Family doesn't conspire to destroy someone's life work. Family doesn't betray a dying sister's wishes. My phone buzzed again. A news alert. FBI raids rival tech offices. CEO Darius Perkins in custody. I showed Sandra the headline. Looks like your investment isn't paying off after all. She grabbed her designer bag, hands shaking. You've ruined everything. Your cousin's marriage, your father's reputation. No, Delilah interrupted, surprising us all. You did that. I've seen the evidence. You took a brilliant woman's inheritance and used it to fund fraud and theft. You're not the victim here. Sandra turned to me, tears in her eyes. What do you want? Money? I can get it back. I want nothing from you, I said. Not anymore. The FBI will handle the money. The SEC will handle the fraud. And you? I smiled coldly. You get to explain to everyone why you betrayed your own sister's dying wish. Your mother would be ashamed of what you've become, she said, heading for the door. No, I called after her. She'd be proud I finally stood up to you. After she left, Leonardo put a hand on my shoulder. You okay? Better than okay. I checked my phone. More news alerts. Palmer facing medical board investigation. Jayla named in corporate espionage case. Sandra's assets frozen. What now? Delilah asked. Now? I looked at my team, the family I'd chosen. Now we get back to work. Real work. Building something that matters. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from my father. You were right. About everything. I'm sorry I didn't protect you. I showed Leonardo the message. Think it's genuine? He shrugged. Does it matter? No, I replied, deleting the message. It doesn't. Outside my office window, the city stretched endlessly, full of possibilities. I'd lost one family, but built another. And this one? This one was built on truth, not lies. Sometimes karma needs a little help. Sometimes justice wears a hoodie and writes code. And sometimes the best revenge is simply succeeding on your own terms. The final board meeting was a formality. 2 weeks after Sandra's visit, we gathered to review the fallout. The room felt different, lighter somehow, as if a long shadow had finally lifted. The numbers are clear, Rosalie presented. Hawkshield's detection of the rival tech fraud saved our investors billions. The FBI is calling it the biggest corporate espionage case of the year. I watched the faces around the table. These people had once looked at me with skepticism. The young tech founder who didn't fit their traditional banking mold. Now they looked at me with respect. There's more, Leonardo added, standing up. The backdoor attempt triggered improvements in our AI. We're now detecting fraud patterns we didn't even know existed. My phone buzzed. A news notification. Dawson Medical Group files for bankruptcy. CEO faces criminal charges. Speaking of fraud, I said, Palmer's medical practice wasn't just laundering money. They were falsifying patient records to hide malpractice. Jesus, someone muttered. The trust fund money Sandra stole, I continued. It funded everything. The fake medical equipment, the stolen technology, even Darius's attempts to hack our systems. The chairman cleared his throat. Ms. Cooper, Mallory, the board wants to acknowledge that this must have been personally difficult. Actually, I smiled, it wasn't difficult at all. The truth is simple. It's lies that are complicated. The door opened. Delilah rushed in, tablet in hand. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. She placed the tablet in front of me. An email from my father. Mallory, Sandra confessed everything. The trust fund, the conspiracy with Darius, all of it. I've attached her signed statement and all the documents you'll need for the investigation. I should have protected you. I should have seen what was happening. I know it's too late for apologies, but maybe this helps make things right. Dad. Well, Rosalie peered at the screen. That's unexpected. My phone rang. Jayla's name flashed on the screen. I answered on speaker. Come to gloat? Her voice was raw, broken. No, I replied. Just working. Palmer's going to jail, she said. Mom's under investigation. Everything we built, it's gone. You built it on lies, Jayla. What did you expect? I expected family loyalty, she shouted. I expected you to understand that we were trying to create something. By destroying what I created, I cut her off. By helping Darius steal my work? By mocking everything I ever tried to achieve? Silence on the line. You know what's funny, I continued. All those years you spent calling me the family disappointment, I was building something real, something that actually helps people. I helped people, she protested weakly. Palmer's practice, falsified records, endangered patients, and laundered money, I finished. That's not helping, Jayla. That's hurting with a pretty facade. More silence then. What happens now? Now? I looked around the boardroom at my real family, Leonardo's quiet strength, Delilah's fierce loyalty, Rosalie's proud smile. Now you face the consequences, just like I faced every consequence of being different, of choosing my own path. Mom always said you'd destroy us, Jayla whispered. No, I replied. Your own choices did that. I just built better systems to catch those choices. After I hung up, the chairman stood. I think we're done here. Mallory, the board has unanimously voted to expand Hawkshield's contract. We want full integration across all our systems. Thank you, I said, but there's one condition. Oh? Delilah gets promoted to Chief Security Officer. She's earned it. Delilah's eyes widened. Leonardo grinned. Done, the chairman agreed. Anything else? I thought about Sandra's pearls, about Jayla's designer suits, about all the trappings of success they'd valued over truth. Yes, I said. We're starting a scholarship fund for girls who want to code, who dream of building things, who might not fit the traditional mold. We'll call it the Catherine Cooper Memorial Fund, after my mother. Rosalie wiped a tear. Your mother would be proud. I know, I smiled. She always said success isn't about fitting in. It's about standing out for the right reasons. As the board filed out, Leonardo lingered. Dinner tonight? To celebrate? I looked at him, really looked at him. All these years of loyalty, of understanding, of quiet support. Yes, I said. I think it's time. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from an unknown number. You won. But at what cost? S. I deleted it without replying. Sandra would never understand that I hadn't won anything. I'd simply built something stronger than their lies, and that was worth everything. The autumn wind whipped around me as I stood at my mother's grave, the first time I'd visited since the funeral. Leonardo waited respectfully by the car, giving me space. You were right, Mom, I said softly, placing fresh flowers against the stone. About everything. My phone buzzed. Delilah sending me the latest news. Palmer had pleaded guilty to all charges. Darius was cooperating with federal investigators. Sandra's assets remained frozen. Ms. Cooper? A familiar voice made me turn. The cemetery groundskeeper approached, holding an envelope. Your father left this for you this morning. Said it was important. Inside was a key and an address. Below it, my father's handwriting. Your mother's storage unit. It's time you had what's yours. I showed Leonardo the note. Feel like a detour? The storage facility was small, family-owned. Unit 23 looked like any other, but my hands trembled as I turned the key. The door rolled up to reveal boxes, dozens of them, carefully labeled in my mother's neat handwriting. Mallory's Code Projects, age 12, Science Fair Awards, MIT acceptance. She kept everything, I whispered. Leonardo picked up a dusty laptop. This looks ancient. That's where I wrote my first program. I took it from him, memories flooding back. Mom bought it for me when Sandra said computers weren't for girls. There's more, Leonardo pointed to a filing cabinet. Inside were documents, the original trust paperwork, letters, photos, and a sealed envelope with my name on it, dated just before she died. Dear Mallory, I read aloud, my voice catching. If you're reading this, then I was right about Sandra. I've kept copies of everything. The real trust documents, the account numbers, proof of what they're planning. Don't let them make you doubt yourself. You were always meant to build something extraordinary. Love, Mom. She knew, Leonardo said softly. She protected you the only way she could. By leaving a paper trail. I laughed through tears. Like mother, like daughter. My phone rang. Rosalie. Turn on the news. Now. Leonardo pulled it up on his phone. The headline made my breath catch. FBI announces major break in corporate fraud case. Whistleblower Griffin Cooper provides key evidence. Your father's been working with them for months, Rosalie explained, ever since you confronted him. He gave them everything. Sandra's schemes, Palmer's fraud, all of it. I sat heavily on a storage box. He chose a side. The right one, finally, Leonardo added. Another box caught my eye. Mallory's first server setup. Inside was my original coding notebook, filled with teenage dreams and diagrams. I want to show you something, I told Leonardo, pulling out my phone and calling Delilah. Remember that scholarship idea? Let's make it bigger. How much bigger? I could hear her typing. Convert the old server room into a coding academy. Free classes for girls who want to learn tech. Use Mom's storage unit as a museum. Show them where it all started. Already on it, Delilah replied. First class starts next week. Leonardo touched my arm. There's something else you should see. He led me to his car and drove to my office building. The lobby had changed. A new sign hung above the entrance. Catherine Cooper Center for Technology Innovation. The board approved it this morning, he explained, along with funding for a full STEM scholarship program. I stared at my mother's name in gleaming letters. It's perfect. There's one more thing. Leonardo turned to face me. I've been waiting for the right moment. Yes, I said before he could finish. He blinked. You don't even know what I was going to say. You were going to suggest dinner, not to celebrate the company or the victory or even the academy. I smiled. Just dinner. Just us. Actually, he pulled out a small box. I was going to suggest forever. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from my father. Your mother would be so proud, not just of what you built, but of who you became. I am too. I looked at Leonardo, at the ring, at my mother's name shining above us. This wasn't the family ending Sandra and Jayla had planned for me. This was better. Forever sounds good, I said, taking the ring. But first, I have a coding class to teach. Leonardo laughed. Of course you do. The autumn wind had calmed. Above us, my mother's name caught the setting sun, casting long shadows that looked almost like lines of code. Some people are born to fit in. Others are born to stand out. And some of us, We're born to build something entirely new. That's not revenge. That's not even success. That's justice. And it codes beautifully.
I stared at my bank account balance, the numbers burning into my retinas like a brand of shame. $37,000 gone. Just like that. One click, one transfer, and years of careful saving vanished into my brother's pocket. But it wasn't the missing money that made my hands shake. It was the Instagram post I'd just discovered. There was Cameron, my precious baby brother, draped across the hood of a brand new Tesla, wearing what looked like a $3,000 jacket. That car cost more than what I gave him. And it wasn't the only post like that. My name is Danielle, and I've spent my entire life being the responsible one, the reliable one, the boring one, according to my mother. While Cameron got to be the family genius, the golden child, the next Mark Zuckerberg. "It's just a temporary loan, sweetie," Mom had said 3 months ago, her perfectly manicured hands clasped around mine. "Your brother's app is going to revolutionize healthcare. You want to be part of his success story, don't you?" I'd sat there at our family dinner table, pushing around the remains of my mother's overcooked pot roast, feeling the weight of their expectations crushing me. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes, focused intently on his plate. Cameron leaned back in his chair, that familiar confident smirk playing on his lips. "The investors are practically fighting each other to get in," Cameron had declared, waving his hand dismissively. "But we need seed money now to show we're serious. I've been saving for my down payment," I'd protested weakly. "The condo." "A condo?" Mom's laugh had cut like glass. "Danielle, this is your brother's future we're talking about. Your future too. When the app takes off, he'll pay you back double, triple even." "I don't know. You always do this." Mom's voice had turned sharp, familiar disappointment etching lines around her mouth. "Every time your brother needs support, you hesitate. Remember his graduation party?" I'd flinched. Of course I remembered. I'd been saving for a car, but Cameron needed a proper celebration. $3,000 for one night. My car fund disappeared into chocolate fountains and a DJ. "The transfer can be done right now," Cameron had said, sliding his phone across the table. "I've already got the account details ready." My fingers had hovered over the screen. "All of it?" "Every penny," Mom confirmed. "Show your brother you believe in him." Now, 3 months later, I clicked through more of Cameron's social media. Designer clothes, exclusive clubs, a weekend trip to Miami. Each post felt like a slap in the face. My phone buzzed. Rachel, my roommate. "You okay?" her text read. "You've been staring at your phone for an hour." I walked out to our tiny living room where Rachel sat cross-legged on our second-hand couch. Without a word, I showed her Cameron's Tesla post. "Holy shit," she whispered. "Is that—" "Yep, my down payment fund at work. But he said it was for development costs, servers and programming," and I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. "Apparently development costs include Gucci loafers." Rachel grabbed my phone, scrolling furiously. "This is fraud, Danny, like actual fraud." "Try telling my mother that. She'd say he deserves nice things because he works so hard." "On what? Has anyone even seen this miraculous app?" I sank onto the couch beside her. "He keeps saying it's in stealth mode until launch. Mom and Dad eat it up. They always have." Rachel's face darkened. "Like your college graduation." I winced. The day I'd graduated summa cum laude in accounting, Cameron had announced he was dropping out to pursue his entrepreneurial dreams. Guess which topic dominated dinner? "I can't believe I fell for it again," I whispered. "I knew better. I knew, and I still—" "Stop," Rachel grabbed my shoulders. "This isn't your fault. They manipulated you. They always do." My phone buzzed again. "Mum?" "Cameron's having a launch party next week, black tie. He says you haven't RSVP'd yet. Don't you dare embarrass him by not showing up." I showed Rachel the message. Her eyes narrowed. "Launch party? For an app that doesn't exist?" "Probably invited investors," I said numbly. "More people to scam. Rachel was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at me, something dangerous glinting in her eyes. "You know what? You should definitely go to that party." "Why?" She smiled grimly. "Because it's time everyone saw exactly what their golden boy has been doing with your money." I stared at her, my heart beginning to race. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than shame. I felt anger. "Start with the bank statements," Rachel said, spreading papers across our coffee table. "If he's been this careless on social media, imagine what his transaction history looks like." I'd spent the morning at my bank, requesting 3 months of detailed statements for the account I'd transferred money to. The teller had given me a strange look when I'd asked for copies of every single transaction, but I didn't care anymore. "Look at this," I pointed to a series of charges. 4,000 at Louis Vuitton, 3,000 at some club called Azure, 2,000 at a jet ski rental? Rachel whistled. "He's not even trying to hide it." "Because he never thought I'd check," I said, my voice hardening. "He assumed I'd just sit quietly like always." We spent the next hour creating a spreadsheet, categorizing every expense: luxury items, entertainment, travel. The numbers were staggering. "Hold up," Rachel said suddenly, squinting at her laptop screen. "I found his LinkedIn. Says here he's the CEO and founder of HealthSync Technologies." I leaned over her shoulder. "That's supposedly the company developing the app." "Yeah, well, I just searched the business registry. No company by that name exists. Not in this state, not anywhere." My stomach lurched. "What? He never registered the company, Danny, which means there is no company." The words felt like acid in my mouth. "It's all fake." Rachel's fingers flew across her keyboard. "His website's just a landing page, no actual content. And look at this, the team photos. They're stock images. I found the same ones on Shutterstock." I grabbed my phone, hands shaking as I pulled up the launch party invitation Cameron had sent. "Join us for the revolutionary launch of HealthSync, the future of digital healthcare. He's inviting actual investors to this thing." "That's securities fraud," Rachel said grimly. "He's soliciting investments for a fake company." My phone buzzed. A text from Mum. "Honey, can you chip in for Cameron's launch party? The venue alone is $15,000. He's so stressed about making it perfect." I showed Rachel the message. Her eyes went wide. "He's using your money to throw a party to scam more money. That's actually impressive in how awful it is." I started laughing, but it wasn't funny. Nothing about this was funny. "I need more proof," I said, standing up. "Bank statements aren't enough. They'll say I'm misinterpreting things." "What are you thinking?" "The car dealership. That Tesla didn't appear out of nowhere. There has to be a paper trail." 2 hours later, I walked into Luxury Motors, wearing my best work blazer and carrying a folder of bank statements. "Hi," I smiled at the salesman. "I need some information about a Tesla purchased here recently. It would have been about 6 weeks ago." "I'm afraid we can't disclose customer information." I pulled out the bank statement showing the $7,000 down payment to their dealership. "The purchase was made with funds from my account. I'm investigating potential fraud." His expression changed. "Oh, let me get my manager." 20 minutes later, I walked out with copies of the purchase agreement, financing documents and proof that Cameron had used my money for the down payment, while financing the rest under his name. When I got home, Rachel was still digging. "Found something interesting," she said without looking up. "Remember Chandler, your brother's PR guy?" "Yeah, they met at that startup conference. Well, he's been busy. Look at these social media posts, all talking about how HealthSync is going to disrupt the industry. He's building hype for the launch party." I sat down heavily. How many people are they planning to scam? According to the event page, at least 50 potential investors are coming, including Athena Peters. "The venture capitalist?" Rachel nodded. "She's known for funding healthcare startups. Big money. I stared at the growing pile of evidence on our table. Bank statements, car documents, screenshots, all proof of my brother's elaborate con. "This isn't just fraud," Rachel said quietly. "This is betrayal. You know where this ends, right?" I picked up the launch party invitation, running my finger over the embossed lettering. Next Friday, 7 p.m. The perfect stage for everything to come crashing down. "Yeah," I said, feeling surprisingly calm. "I know exactly where this ends." Rachel studied my face. "Are you sure you want to do this? It'll destroy your relationship with your family." I thought about all the times I'd stayed quiet, all the times I'd given in, all the times I'd watched Cameron take and take while my parents cheered him on. "What relationship?" I asked. "They destroyed that a long time ago. They just didn't notice because I never made them pay for it." I stood up, gathering the documents into a folder. "But now," I smiled, and it felt dangerous. "Now they're going to pay attention." I decided to test the waters before the launch party. Just one receipt, the Tesla down payment. If my parents showed even a hint of concern, maybe there was hope for handling this privately. I met them at their house, the same suburban fortress where Cameron's academic medals still lined the walls. My accounting degree was somewhere in the garage, probably behind the Christmas decorations. "Mom, Dad, we need to talk about the money I gave Cameron." Mom barely looked up from her phone. "Oh, is something wrong?" I placed the receipt on the coffee table. "This is what he spent $7,000 on, a down payment for a Tesla." Dad picked up the paper, frowning slightly. Mum waved her hand dismissively. "Sweetheart, your brother needs to project success. How do you expect him to attract serious investors if he's driving around in some old Beta? Project success with my money?" "Don't be so dramatic," Mom sighed. "He's working incredibly hard on this app. Do you know he was at the office until midnight last night?" "What office?" That made her pause. "His workspace, where he does his coding." "You mean the WeWork he cancelled last month, or maybe the company that doesn't legally exist?" Dad's head snapped up. Mum's face flushed. "What are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything. I'm telling you that Health Sync Technologies isn't registered anywhere. There is no company. There is no app." "That's ridiculous," Mom snapped. "He showed us the prototype." "Really? What did it do?" Mom opened her mouth, then closed it. Dad suddenly became very interested in his shoes. "It's for healthcare," Mom said finally. "It's very technical. You wouldn't understand." "Because there's nothing to understand. It's a scam, Mom. He's scamming everyone, including me." The silence that followed was deafening. Then Mom stood up, her face hard. "I don't know what's gotten into you, but this jealousy needs to stop. Your brother is on the verge of something extraordinary, and instead of supporting him, you're trying to tear him down." "Jealousy? He stole my money. He borrowed it for his business." "There is no business." Dad cleared his throat. "Maybe we should all calm down." "No," Mom cut him off. "I won't sit here and listen to these accusations. Cameron worked hard to get where he is. Just because you chose a conventional path doesn't mean you get to diminish his achievements." I laughed, and the sound surprised even me. "Achievements? Like dropping out of college? Like lying to investors? Like spending my savings on designer clothes? Get out!" Mom's voice was ice. "If you can't be happy for your brother's success, then don't come to the launch party at all." I stood up, gathering my purse. "Oh, I'll be there. And I won't be the only one who knows the truth." "Is that a threat?" "No, Mom, it's a promise." I was halfway to the door when Dad spoke up. "Danny, wait! Brian!" Mom's sharp voice stopped him cold. I turned back one last time. "You know what's funny? I always thought you favoured Cameron because you truly believed in him. Now I realise you just couldn't face being wrong about your golden child." Outside, my phone buzzed. A text from Chandler, Cameron's PR guy. "Hey, Kay says you might speak at the launch party. We'd love to have you share how you've supported his journey." Another buzz. a message from Rachel. "You okay?" I typed back. They chose their side, again. Rachel's response was immediate. "Then it's time to choose yours." My phone lit up with an email. The launch party invitation list. 53 confirmed attendees, including Athena Peters and several other major investors. I scrolled through the names, my resolve hardening with each one. These people needed to know the truth, not just about the fake app, but about all of it, the lies, the manipulation, the fraud. Rachel was right. This wasn't just about my revenge anymore. This was about stopping Cameron before he could scam more people. My phone buzzed again. Cameron this time. "Hey sis, Mom said you're being weird about the Tesla. Don't worry, once we launch, you'll get your money back times 10. Love you." I stared at his message, at the casual confidence of someone who'd never faced consequences. "Looking forward to the launch," I typed back. "I've got something special planned." Because I did. Something very special indeed. Rachel and I had spent hours preparing the presentation. Bank statements, social media posts, fake company documents, all meticulously organised. Cameron wanted me to speak at his party. Fine, I'd speak. And for once in my life, everyone would have to listen. You need something that screams, "Don't mess with me," but also says, "I'm a professional who knows exactly what she's talking about," Rachel declared, rifling through the racks at Nordstrom. I'd never spent this much time shopping for a single outfit. But Rachel was right, appearance mattered, especially for what I was about to do. "Here," she pulled out a black dress with sharp lines and subtle power shoulders. "Try this." In the fitting room, I barely recognized myself. The dress was perfect, sleek, authoritative, with just enough edge to make a statement. No more invisible older sister. "That's the one," Rachel nodded. "Now, shoes, something that'll make noise when you walk to the podium." We found red-bottomed heels on clearance. Still expensive, but worth it. The click they made against the floor sounded like a countdown. Back home, we spread everything across my bed, the dress, the shoes, a folder containing every piece of evidence, and a USB drive with the presentation. "Let's rehearse again," Rachel said, sitting cross-legged on my floor. "Remember, you need to control the narrative from the start." I stood straight, imagining the crowd before me. "Thank you all for coming tonight. My brother asked me to share how I've supported his journey. So, let me tell you exactly how I've supported HealthSync Technologies." "Good," Rachel nodded. "Then what?" "Then I show the first slide, my bank statement with the transfer highlighted, follow it with Cameron's spending spree timeline, end with proof that HealthSync was never registered. And if someone tries to interrupt, keep talking. The microphone will be live and everything will be projected on the screen behind me. They can't stop what everyone's already seeing." Rachel checked her phone. "Chandler's still posting hype about the launch. Listen to this. Tomorrow night, HealthSync revolutionizes healthcare forever. Limited investor spots remaining." "He's still trying to bring in more victims," I said, checking my own notifications. "Mum's been calling all morning." "Don't answer. You can't risk them suspecting anything." A new email popped up from Athena Peters' office confirming her attendance. My hands shook slightly as I read it. "What if I'm wrong?" I whispered. "What if somehow there is an app and I'm about to destroy everything for nothing?" Rachel stood up and grabbed my shoulders. "Danny, stop. We've seen the evidence. There's no company registration, no development team, no prototype. Just your brother spending your money on luxury cars and designer clothes." "I know, but..." "No buts. Remember last Christmas when Cameron announced he was dropping out of college to pursue his dreams and your parents acted like he'd won a Nobel Prize?" I nodded. "And then 10 minutes later, when you mentioned your promotion at work, what did your mum say?" I swallowed hard. "At least one of my children is willing to settle for ordinary." "Exactly. They've been gaslighting you your whole life, making you doubt yourself while Cameron could do no wrong. That stops tomorrow." My phone buzzed again. A text from Cameron. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow night. Wear something nice. Investors will be there." Rachel read over my shoulder and snorted. "Oh, we'll give them something to see, all right." We spent the next hour going through the presentation one final time. Every detail had to be perfect. The bank statements were organised chronologically. The social media screenshots were time-stamped. The business registry searches were documented. "One last thing," Rachel said, pulling out a small box. "Got you something." Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a small sword pendant. "For courage," she said softly, "and because sometimes the truth is the sharpest weapon we have." I hugged her, fighting back tears. "Thank you for everything." "Just promise me one thing," she said, helping me fasten the necklace. "When you're up there tomorrow night, remember who you are, not who they made you think you were." Later that night, I laid out everything I'd wear. The black dress, the heels, the necklace, my armour for battle. My phone lit up with one final text, from Dad. "I know something's wrong," it read. "Whatever happens tomorrow night, I'm sorry I never spoke up before." I stared at his message for a long time, remembering all the times he'd looked away, all the times he'd chosen silence over support. "Too late," I typed back, then turned off my phone. Tomorrow night there would be no more silence, no more looking away, no more golden child getting away with everything while I faded into the background. Tomorrow night, I'd finally make them see me. And they'd never forget what they saw. The venue was exactly what you'd expect from Cameron, all glass and chrome, with floating LED displays and waiters carrying champagne on illuminated trays. My heels clicked against the marble floor as I entered, the USB drive heavy in my clutch. "Danny!" Chandler appeared, looking sharp in a designer suit. "You look amazing. Cameron's going to be so excited you're here." "Wouldn't miss it," I smiled, noting how his eyes darted nervously around the room. "Quite a turnout." "Oh yeah, we're at capacity. Athena Peters just arrived. She's by the bar with some other investors. You should say hi, tell them about how you've supported the company from day one." If he only knew. I made my way through the crowd, catching snippets of conversation. Everyone was buzzing about the mysterious app that would revolutionize healthcare. No one seemed to notice that no actual details were being shared. "Danielle!" My mother's voice cut through the noise. She air-kissed my cheeks, her grip on my arm, just this side of painful. "You clean up nicely, though perhaps that neckline is a bit much for a business event." "The dress is perfect," Dad said quietly. Mom shot him a look. "Have you seen your brother? He's been networking all evening. So professional, so confident." I spotted Cameron across the room holding court with a group of older men in expensive suits. He was drinking champagne and laughing, wearing a watch that probably cost more than my yearly rent. "Excuse me," I said, pulling away from Mom's grip. "I need to check something with the AV team." I found the tech booth where Rachel's friend Marcus was working. We'd paid him extra to ensure nothing could interrupt the presentation. "All set," he whispered, showing me the laptop. "Your slides are loaded and backed up. Once you start, only you can control them with this remote." "Thanks. And the microphone?" "Primary mic will be hot the whole time. They can't cut it without killing the entire sound system." I checked my phone. 20 minutes until Cameron's big moment. "Danielle?" A sharp, professional voice called out. I turned to find Athena Peters herself, elegant in a tailored pantsuit. "Your brother speaks highly of you, says you're integral to the company." "Really?" I smiled. "Did he mention exactly how I contributed?" "He's been surprisingly vague about everything," she said, her eyes narrowing slightly. "I assume you'll be more specific during your speech." "Oh yes, very specific." She studied me for a moment, then handed me her card. "Call me tomorrow. I have a feeling we should talk." The lights dimmed and Chandler took the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the visionary founder of Health Sync Technologies, Cameron." Applause erupted as my brother bounded onto the stage, every inch the charismatic tech entrepreneur. I moved closer, positioning myself near the steps. "Thank you all for coming tonight. Cameron beamed. "I know many of you have been wondering about our revolutionary app. Tonight, we finally pull back the curtain." He launched into his pitch, full of buzzwords and promises, but zero substance. The crowd ate it up. Mom was practically glowing with pride. "But before we reveal more," Cameron continued, "I want to acknowledge someone special, someone who believed in this dream from the very beginning. My amazing sister, Danielle. Without her support, none of this would be possible." He turned toward me, extending his hand. "Danny, would you come up here? Tell everyone how you helped make HealthSync a reality." The spotlight found me. This was it. No turning back. I took his hand, letting him pull me onto stage. The mic was already live. "Thank you, Cameron," I said, my voice steady. "You're right, none of this would be possible without my support. In fact, let me show everyone exactly how I supported HealthSync Technologies." I clicked the remote. Behind me, my bank statement appeared on the massive screen, the $37,000 transfer highlighted in angry red. Cameron's smile flickered. In the audience, Mum's champagne glass stopped halfway to her lips. "It's a funny story, actually," I continued, clicking to the next slide, Cameron's Tesla purchase agreement, about how a healthcare app somehow required a luxury car for development. The room had gone completely silent. I could hear Cameron's breathing getting faster beside me. "But wait," I smiled, channeling every fake sweet tone my mother had ever used. "There's more. So much more." I caught Athena's eye in the crowd. She gave me the slightest of nods. "Let me tell you all about HealthSync Technologies," I said, clicking to the next damning slide, "and about the brother who thought I'd never dare to speak up." "Danny," Cameron hissed, reaching for the microphone, "what are you doing?" I stepped away from his grasp, my heels clicking on the stage. "I'm doing what you asked, brother. I'm telling everyone how I supported your dream." Click. The screen showed his credit card statements, designer purchases, club tabs, first-class flights. "See, my brother needed $37,000 for development costs," I continued, my voice carrying through the silent room. "Servers, programming, testing. That's what he told our parents. That's what he told me." Click. Social media posts filled the screen, Cameron in Miami, on his jet ski, popping champagne at exclusive clubs. "Interesting development strategy, wouldn't you say?" Someone in the crowd gasped. Phones were out, recording everything. Chandler was frantically typing on his phone, probably trying to damage control. "But maybe I'm being unfair," I said, pacing the stage. "Maybe all this luxury spending was necessary for networking, for making connections. So let's talk about the actual company." Click. The business registry search results appeared. HealthSync Technologies doesn't exist. It was never registered. There is no company. There is no app. There never was. "That's enough." Mom stood up, her face flushed. "You're just jealous." "No, Mrs. Francis," Athena Peters' voice cut through the chaos. She stood, tablet in hand. "Your daughter is correct. My team investigated before tonight. We found no code repositories, no development history, no technical documentation. Nothing." Cameron finally found his voice. "The code is proprietary. It's protected." "There is no code," Athena said flatly. "We checked every possible avenue. You've never even registered a domain name." The crowd was muttering now. Investors were standing up, gathering their things. Someone near the back shouted, "Fraud!" "Mom!" Cameron turned to our mother, his voice cracking. Tell them about the prototype I showed you." Mom faltered. "He showed us. It was very technical." "What did it do?" I asked quietly. "What exactly did this revolutionary app do?" Silence. Click. The final slide appeared, a compilation of Cameron's social media posts bragging about investor meetings, alongside bank records showing how he'd spent my money. "My brother is very good at telling stories," I said, turning to face the crowd. "He told our parents he was a tech genius. He told me he needed my life savings for development. He told all of you he had the next big healthcare innovation. I pulled out the USB drive, holding it up. But unlike my brother, I believe in proof. Everything I've shown tonight is documented here. Bank statements, purchase records, business registry searches, social media timestamps. The complete story of how Cameron Francis tried to scam investors using his sister's stolen money. You bitch! Cameron lunged for me, but security was already moving. 2 guards grabbed his arms as he thrashed. You're ruining everything. No, I said calmly. You did that yourself. The room erupted into chaos. Investors were demanding answers. Phones were flashing. Mum had collapsed into a chair, Dad hovering helplessly beside her. Athena Peters approached the stage, her heels clicking like gunshots. I've already contacted the SEC, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. They'll be very interested in this attempted securities fraud. Please, Chandler stepped forward. This is all a misunderstanding. Save it for the investigators. Athena cut him off. She turned to me. Miss Francis, I trust you'll make those documents available to the authorities. I nodded, watching as security escorted my struggling brother toward the exit. He was still shouting, but his words were drowned out by the angry crowd. Danielle! Mom's voice, broken and small. How could you do this to your brother? I looked at her, really looked at her, maybe for the first time in my life. She seemed smaller somehow, her carefully maintained facade crumbling. How could you do this to me? I replied. I walked off the stage, past the murmuring crowds, past the flashing phones, past my sobbing mother and silent father. My heels clicked against the marble floor, each step feeling lighter than the last. Outside, the night air was cool on my face. Rachel was waiting by her car, exactly as planned. You did it, she said softly. I did. How do you feel? I touched the sword pendant at my neck, thinking about the years of silence, of giving in, of staying quiet to keep the peace. Free, I said. I feel free. Behind us, the venue doors burst open as people streamed out, phones to their ears, voices raised. I could hear fragments of conversations. Total scam, calling my lawyer. Can't believe we almost invested. Rachel started the car. Ready to go? I looked back one last time at the glittering venue where everything had finally shattered. Yes, I said, I'm ready. The story broke the next morning. Tech startup exposed as family fraud, read one headline. Sister reveals brother's $1 million scam, declared another. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since I woke up. Look at this, Rachel said, scrolling through her phone during breakfast. Your video's gone viral. People are calling you a hero for stopping the scam before investors lost money. I sipped my coffee, trying to ignore the missed calls from my parents. Any word from Cameron? His social media's gone dark, but Chandler's been doing damage control. She read from her screen. Recent allegations against Health Sync Technologies stem from a personal family dispute. We categorically deny blah blah blah. Nobody's buying it. My phone rang. Athena Peters. Good morning, Danielle. I trust you've seen the news. Hard to miss it. The SEC is very interested in your documentation. Would you be willing to meet with them today? I agreed to a meeting at her office. 2 hours later, I sat across from federal investigators, walking them through everything: the money transfer, Cameron's spending, the fake company claims. Your brother could face serious charges, one investigator said. Securities fraud, wire fraud, possibly money laundering. What about my money? I asked. The $37,000 he took. We've frozen his accounts. There's a good chance you'll recover at least part of it. After the meeting, Athena asked me to stay. I'm impressed, she said, studying me over her desk. Not many people would have the courage to do what you did. I didn't feel very courageous. No, she smiled. You stood up in front of 50 potential investors and exposed a fraud, knowing it would tear your family apart. That takes guts. She slid a business card across the desk. How would you like to put those skills to use? I picked up the card. What do you mean? My firm needs someone with your attention to detail and integrity, someone who can spot financial irregularities and isn't afraid to speak up. The position comes with a significant salary increase from your current job. My hands shook slightly as I held the card. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you a career. Think about it. Outside her office, my phone buzzed with a text from Dad. Your mother's not well. Please call us. Then another. I know we failed you. I failed you, but please. I turned my phone off. Back home, Rachel was waiting with takeout and wine. How'd it go? I told her about the investigation, about Athena's job offer. She hugged me tight. You deserve this, all of it. Mum's sick, apparently, I said, pouring wine. Dad wants me to call. Are you going to? Not today. My laptop pinged. An email notification. From Cameron. Should I open it? I asked. Rachel shrugged. Only if you're ready. I clicked. Danny, they're saying I could go to jail. Real jail. Mum's had 2 anxiety attacks. Dad's talking about mortgaging the house for my legal fees. This isn't what I wanted. None of this was supposed to happen. I know sorry isn't enough. I know I can't fix what I did, but you're my sister. Please, help me one more time. Kay, I closed the laptop without replying. You okay? Rachel asked softly. He still thinks he can manipulate me. Still thinks I'll cave if he just pushes the right buttons. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. I recognized Chandler's writing style. The media's having a field day. Give us something to work with. A statement saying it was all a misunderstanding. Your brother's life is falling apart. I blocked the number. Another email arrived, this time from a reporter. Would you be interested in telling your side of the story? We're doing a piece on family fraud and financial abuse. Delete. It's never going to stop, is it? I asked Rachel. It will, eventually. But first, she handed me an envelope. This came while you were out. Inside was a handwritten letter from my father. Danielle, I watched you grow up being pushed aside, being told to give way, to give in. I watched and said nothing. Every time your mother favoured Cameron, every time we asked too much of you, I stayed quiet. I told myself it was easier that way. But it wasn't easier for you, was it? I can't undo the past, can't unfail you as a father. Just know that what you did took more courage than I've shown in my entire life. Dad. I placed the letter in my desk drawer, next to Athena's business card. What now? Rachel asked. I looked around our small apartment, thinking about Athena's job offer, about new beginnings. Now, I said, I start living on my own terms. A final text came through from Athena. Decision made yet? This time I replied, yes. When do I start? The keys to my new condo felt heavy in my hand as I stood in the empty living room. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the city skyline, the same view I'd dreamed about while saving all those years. Last box, Rachel announced, dropping it in the kitchen. Though I still think you should have let me help pay for movers. I wanted to do this myself, I said. Everything in here, it's all mine, really mine. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Tech fraud case. Ends in plea deal. I opened it, scanning quickly. Cameron had agreed to repay investors and serve 6 months, followed by probation. You okay? Rachel asked, reading over my shoulder. Better than okay. I showed her my bank account on my phone. The recovered money from Cameron's frozen accounts, plus my first bonus from Athena's firm, had finally cleared. I earned this, all of it. The doorbell rang. A delivery man held a large arrangement of flowers. From your parents, Rachel read the card. Please come to dinner. We miss you. I took the flowers to my balcony and dropped them into the dumpster below. They landed with a satisfying thud. Harsh, Rachel grinned, but fair. They still don't get it, I said, walking back inside. They think flowers and guilt can fix 27 years of damage. My laptop chimed. An email from Dad, separate from Mum's address. The house is quiet without Cameron, without you. I've started therapy, learning to find my voice. Maybe someday you'll let me buy you coffee and practice using it. Are you going to answer him? Rachel asked. Not today. Maybe not this month. He needs to learn that my forgiveness isn't something he's entitled to. We unpacked boxes, arranging my life in this new space. Every piece of furniture I'd chosen myself. Every decision made without asking permission or apologizing. My work phone rang. Athena. Danielle, excellent work on the Morrison audit. You found irregularities our previous team missed for 3 years. Thank you. It was hidden well, but the pattern was there. This is why I hired you. Come by my office tomorrow. I have another case that needs your particular perspective. After hanging up, I walked to my new home office. A dedicated room with a view, not a corner of a shared living room. On the wall hung a single frame, the bank statement showing Cameron's first fraudulent purchase, the one that started it all. Rachel appeared in the doorway. Reminder of where you started. Reminder of when I stopped being silent. My personal phone buzzed again. Mum. Please, Danielle. The family feels broken without you. I typed back. The family was always broken. I just stopped pretending it wasn't. Block number. Hey, Rachel said softly. Remember what you told that reporter last week? About why you did it? I smiled. The interview had gone viral. I didn't expose my brother's fraud for revenge. I did it because after a lifetime of being told to stay quiet, to give in, to put his dreams ahead of mine, I finally realized something. The truth doesn't need permission to be spoken. The sun was setting, painting my new living room in shades of gold. I opened the balcony door, letting in the city sounds below. You know what's funny? I said to Rachel. They always called Cameron the successful one, the achiever. But look around, everything here? I built this. Me, the quiet daughter, the responsible one, the one who was never going to be extraordinary. My work phone buzzed again, another case file from Athena, another company's finances to investigate, another truth to uncover. Rachel hugged me. I'm proud of you, and I should go. Let you enjoy your first night in your new kingdom. After she left, I stood on my balcony, watching the city lights flicker on. My phone buzzed one final time. A text from an unknown number. Cameron using someone else's phone. I'm sorry, really sorry. Not because I got caught, because I hurt you. When I get out, I want to make it right. I didn't block this number, didn't respond either. Just let the words sit there, acknowledging them without letting them control me. Below, the city hummed with life. My city now, seen from my balcony, paid for with my truth. Tomorrow I'd go to work, find more frauds, speak more truths. Tonight, though, I just stood there, feeling the weight of silence finally lift from my shoulders. They'd raised me to be quiet, then punished me when I finally spoke. But here's the thing about finding your voice. Once you do, no one can ever silence you again.
I was 7 when I learned that being perfect wasn't enough. Not in my family anyway. My sister Ruby could bring home C's and get ice cream. I could ace every test and get nothing but a distracted nod. I'm Eloise, and I've spent 35 years being the other daughter. Darling, you look professional, my mother said last night. Her lips pursed as she examined my blazer and pencil skirt. The way she said professional made it sound like a terminal illness. Ruby always manages to look so effortlessly glamorous, doesn't she? I took another sip of wine, letting the bitter Merlot wash away the even more bitter retort I wanted to make. Ruby sat across from me at our parents' mahogany dining table, wearing what looked like a month of my rent and designer clothes. Her perfect blonde hair caught the chandelier light while she texted away, probably updating her Instagram followers about our precious family dinner. Speaking of Ruby, my father cleared his throat, we have something important to discuss. I knew that tone. It was his "we need a favor, but we'll pretend it's not a favor" voice. I'd heard it too many times before. Ruby and Jonah found the most darling house. My mother gushed, reaching over to squeeze Ruby's manicured hand. 4 bedrooms, a pool, perfect for the children. But you know how the market is. Ruby finally looked up from her phone, those big blue eyes already welling with tears. Always on cue, always perfect. "The bank wants a bigger deposit than we expected," she said softly. 30,000 more. I nearly choked on my wine. 30,000? "Now, Eloise," my father cut in, "we know you're careful with money. Your mother mentioned you've built up quite a savings account." Of course she did, because Mother had been borrowing my account statements from my mail since I was 18. Careful with money was their code for boring and single. "We've already promised to help," my mother added, "but with your father's retirement, you want me to give Ruby $30,000? I said it slowly, making sure I hadn't misunderstood. "For a house deposit?" Ruby sniffled. "It's not giving, really. It's investing in family." "What about your influencer income?" I asked. "All those sponsored posts?" "Don't be crude, Eloise," my mother snapped. "This isn't about money. It's about supporting family, something you've always struggled with." "I struggle with it?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "That's rich, Mom, really rich." My father's face darkened. "Your sister has children to think about, a real family. Stop being jealous of her life and think about someone other than yourself for once." The room went quiet. Ruby dabbed at her eyes with an embroidered napkin. My mother stared at me with that mixture of disappointment and manipulation she'd perfected over the years. My father wouldn't meet my eyes. I could feel the familiar pressure building, the weight of their expectations, the subtle guilt trips, the unspoken comparison to Ruby's picture-perfect life. But something was different this time. Maybe it was the wine, or maybe it was 35 years of being the family ATM finally reaching its limit. "Okay," I said quietly. Ruby's tears dried instantly. "Really?" "Of course." I smiled, and for once it wasn't forced. "What are sisters for?" My mother beamed, already planning the housewarming party in her head. My father nodded approvingly, probably relieved he wouldn't have to dip into his golf fund. But they didn't see what I saw. They didn't notice how Ruby's designer purse was a knockoff, or how she'd been wearing the same expensive jewelry for months. They didn't see her hands shaking slightly when she mentioned the deposit, or the way she wouldn't quite meet my eyes. I'd spent my whole life watching Ruby, learning her tales, collecting her lies like others collected stamps, and now, finally, I had a use for them all. "I'll transfer the money tomorrow," I said, standing up and gathering my things. "But Ruby, honey, you'll need to come to the bank with me, sign some papers." "Papers?" She looked uncertain for the first time. "Just formalities," I assured her. "Nothing to worry about." As I drove home that night, I made 3 calls. One to my friend Joanna at the law firm, one to my bank, and one to a private investigator I'd kept on speed dial ever since Ruby borrowed my identity for a credit card 6 years ago. Sometimes the best revenge isn't saying no, it's saying yes and watching everything fall apart. "Sign here and here," the bank manager said, sliding the paperwork across his desk. "This authorizes the transfer and sets up the tracking notifications." Ruby's pen hesitated above the line. "Tracking notifications?" "Standard procedure for large transfers," I explained smoothly. "The bank likes to monitor for fraud." What I didn't mention was that Joanna had helped me set up a sophisticated web of financial alerts that would ping me every time Ruby spent more than $100. The bank manager, an old client of mine, had been happy to help with the extra paperwork. "I just feel awful about this," Ruby said, signing with a flourish. "I'll pay you back as soon as we're settled." I thought about the time she'd borrowed Dad's credit card for a shopping spree in college. She'd promised to pay that back too. Dad had ended up writing it off as a gift, just like everything else. No rush, I said, watching the transfer complete. $30,000 gone in seconds. But this time, I had a safety net. My phone buzzed as we left the bank. It was Joanna. Everything's set up, ready for phase 2? I texted back a thumbs up emoji and turned to Ruby. Hey, remember that spa voucher you gave me for Christmas? The one from Luminous Day Spa, of course. I thought I might use it today. Want to come with? Ruby's face fell. Oh, I wish I could, but I have a lunch thing with Cecilia. Perfect. No worries. Another time. The spa was exactly where I needed to be. Teddy Stone, the manager, greeted me warmly. Ms. Eloise, haven't seen you in ages. Your sister was just here yesterday. I feigned surprise. Ruby? But she said she'd never been here. Teddy laughed. Never been here? She's our best customer. Has the platinum membership and everything. Just had the full works yesterday. Massage, facial, the new gold infusion treatment. Gold infusion? I raised an eyebrow. That sounds expensive. Oh yes, $899 per session. But your sister never minds the cost. Says it's essential for her social media presence. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Joanna. First alert just came in, $74,100 at Resort Paradise. Want the details? I smiled at Teddy. You know what? I think I'll skip the treatment today, but I'd love to see your membership pricing. Later that evening, I sat in my apartment reviewing everything Joanna had sent over. Resort Paradise wasn't just a spa charge. It was a full weekend booking for Ruby and her influencer friend Cecilia. The same Cecilia she was supposedly having lunch with right now. My phone rang. It was my mother. Eloise, darling, Ruby just showed us the most wonderful house tour video. The closing is in 3 weeks. We're all so excited. I could hear Ruby in the background, probably showing off more photos. That's great, Mom. Hey, quick question. Has Ruby mentioned her trip next weekend? Trip? What trip? Oh, I said innocently. Maybe it's a surprise. Never mind. I hung up just as another alert came through. Ruby had just spent $2,300 at a designer boutique, the same amount as the mortgage prepayment she'd supposedly made yesterday. My mind flashed back to Christmas 5 years ago. Ruby had announced she was pregnant with her first child, effectively ruining my promotion announcement. Everyone had fawned over her while my news went unmentioned. Later, I'd overheard her telling Cecilia it was a false alarm, but she needed the attention. You okay? Joanna's voice came through on speakerphone. These numbers are pretty damning. I watched another alert pop up, $500 at a wine bar. I'm fine. How long until the house closing? 3 weeks. Want me to keep tracking? Yes, I said, opening my laptop to document everything. Every penny, every purchase, every lie. Let's see how long she can keep juggling. You know, Joanna said carefully, we could stop this now. Show your parents the evidence before she wastes all the money. I thought about all the times I tried to warn them about Ruby, all the times they dismissed me as jealous, bitter, or cruel, all the years of watching them enable her while I was cast as the villain. No, I replied, watching another alert pop up. Sometimes people need to learn the hard way, even parents. And Ruby? I clicked through the mounting evidence of her spending spree. Ruby's about to learn that karma doesn't care how many Instagram followers you have. My phone lit up with a text from Jonah, Ruby's husband. Hey, things are a bit tense at home. Can we grab coffee soon? Need to talk. I smiled. The threads were starting to unravel, and I hadn't even had to pull them. Dad, have you seen how crazy the inflation rates are getting? I stirred my coffee, watching his reaction carefully. We were sitting in his study, surrounded by the familiar smell of old books and leather. It's concerning, he muttered, barely looking up from his newspaper. but Ruby assures me their financial advisor has everything under control. I bit back a laugh. Ruby's financial advisor was probably just Cecilia giving fashion investment tips on TikTok. Speaking of advisors, I got an interesting call yesterday. My phone rang, cutting me off. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, already knowing what it would be. The third debt collection agency this week looking for Ruby. Everything okay? Dad asked, finally glancing up. Just work, I lied, the same way he'd been lying to himself about Ruby for years. Hey, did Ruby tell you about her new investment strategy? But he was already reaching for his golf clubs. Sorry, Princess, running late for my tea time. We'll catch up later? I watched him hurry out, wondering if he'd ever actually caught up with me about anything. My phone buzzed with a text from Joanna. Public records search complete. You need to see this. Before I could check it, someone tapped my shoulder. I turned to find Jonah standing behind me in the coffee shop where I'd retreated after leaving Dad's house. Eloise, he said, looking exhausted, I'm glad I ran into you. The dark circles under his eyes told me everything I needed to know. Want to sit? He slumped into the chair across from me. Things are tense at home. Ruby keeps saying everything's fine, but he ran his hands through his hair. We're behind on the kids' school fees, the car payment, everything. She swears it's just temporary, that the house deposit is safe, but... My phone buzzed again. Another voicemail from an unknown number. This is the final notice for Ruby James Wilcox regarding outstanding payments. Have you checked your joint accounts? I asked carefully. Ruby handles all that, he said. Says I'm too negative about money, but yesterday I found shopping bags in her closet, brand new jewelry, still in boxes. When I asked about it, she said they were props for her social media posts. I nodded, thinking about the credit card alerts I'd been getting. The props had cost more than Jonah's monthly salary. He hesitated. I thought you might know something. You work in finance, right? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with an email from Joanna. The subject line read, Paris? I wish I could help, I said, standing up, but Ruby's always been private about money. Jonah's face fell. Yeah, I get it. Family loyalty and all that. Family loyalty. The same excuse they'd use to take my savings. The same reason I was supposed to stay quiet every time Ruby lied, cheated, or stole. I walked home slowly, opening Joanna's email. There they were. Receipts from boutiques in Paris dated 2 weeks ago. Ruby smiling in front of the Eiffel Tower on a burner Instagram account. Shopping bags from stores I couldn't even pronounce. My mother's voice echoed in my head from last Christmas. Ruby's so good with money, such a provider for her family. Not everyone needs a fancy career to be successful, Eloise. My phone rang again. Mom. Darling, did you see Ruby's latest post? The house is absolutely perfect. She's such a shining light in our family, always thinking of others. I stared at the Paris receipts. Yeah, Mom, she's something all right. I know you two have had your differences, but I'm so proud of you for helping with the deposit. That's what family does. I opened my tracking app. Ruby had just charged $18,000 at a casino resort. You're right, Mom, I said quietly. That's exactly what family does. After hanging up, I texted Joanna. Send me everything you have, every receipt, every transaction, every secret account. It's time. You sure? She replied. Once this starts? Another alert popped up. Ruby was booking first-class tickets somewhere. I'm sure, I typed back. She wanted to play house with my money? Let's see how long her castle of cards stays standing. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Ruby. Hey sis, quick favor. Can you delete those spa membership records you asked for? Jonah's being weird about money lately. Love you. I screenshot the message and added it to my growing file. The truth was coming, whether they were ready or not. The text from Jonah came at 3 a.m. Bank accounts overdrawn, all of them. Ruby's not answering her phone. Please help. I watched the dots appear and disappear as he typed more messages. Found jewelry in the guest room, dozens of boxes, price tags still on. She said the deposit was safe. Where is the money, Eloise? I set my phone down, remembering my 16th birthday. I'd saved for months to throw myself a party, the first real one I'd ever had. 10 minutes before my friends arrived, Ruby had a crisis about her boyfriend. My party turned into a Ruby comfort session. My cake went uneaten. My mother said I was selfish for being upset. My phone buzzed again. Jonah, please, I don't know who else to ask. I typed back, come over tomorrow, 9 a.m. Sleep didn't come easily. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ruby's smug face at family dinners, heard my mother's constant praise, felt the sting of my father's dismissal, the perfect daughter in the spare. That's how it had always been. At 8:57 a.m., Jonah knocked on my door. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Coffee, I offered. He shook his head. Just answers, please. My phone pinged. An alert showing Ruby had just spent $3,000 at a luxury hotel. You should sit down, I said. He collapsed onto my couch. The kids' school called yesterday. Tuition checks bounced. Ruby said it was a bank error. Another alert. Ruby was shopping online right now. Then I found these. He pulled out his phone, showing me photos of shopping bags stuffed in their guest room closet. Designer everything, still wrapped. Must be 40 grand worth. When did you find them? Last night, after the bank called about overdraft fees. Ruby said they were gifts for her followers, sponsorship items. He laughed bitterly. I checked the receipts. She bought them, all of them. My phone lit up with an email from my mother. Ruby's housewarming party next month. Theme, Parisian luxury. Isn't she clever? Jonah, I said carefully, what exactly did Ruby tell you about the house deposit? That it was sorted, your money plus some savings she'd been keeping separate. His voice cracked. There are no savings, are there? I pulled out my laptop. No, there aren't. Over the next hour, I showed him selected pieces of evidence, credit card statements, shopping sprees, the Paris trip, the casino visits. With each revelation, he seemed to shrink further into my couch. The deposit money, he whispered. You're 30,000. Where is it? I pulled up the tracking data. Gone, most of it within the first week. Why didn't you stop her? His voice rose. Why didn't you say something? Would you have believed me? I asked quietly. Would anyone have believed me over perfect Ruby? He stood up suddenly, pacing my living room. I have to tell someone. Your parents already enable her. They always have. The bank will want their money. The police won't do anything. She had authorization to use the money. He stopped pacing. Then what am I supposed to do? My phone buzzed again. A message from Ruby. Hey sis, can you believe some crazy person is spreading rumors about my spending? So toxic. Anyway, could you maybe help with a tiny loan just until my sponsorship money comes in? Love you. I showed him the message. You wait. For what? For the truth to finish unraveling itself. He grabbed his coat. I can't just wait. I have kids, Eloise, a life she's destroying. Trust me, I said. It won't take long now. After he left, I opened my email to find a message from my mother, gushing about Ruby's incredible eye for design and how the new house would be a testament to her success. I clicked through my evidence folder, past the credit card statements and bank alerts, until I found what I was looking for, a video from Ruby's secret Instagram account. She was in Paris, champagne in hand, laughing about how she'd finally escaped the suburban nightmare for a while. The timestamp? 2 days after she'd gotten my money. My phone lit up one last time. A text from Joanna. Found something big, really big. Ready to end this? I thought about Jonah's face when he saw the evidence, about my 16th birthday cake, uneaten, about 35 years of being the family disappointment. Yes, I typed back. Send everything. Eloise, please. Ruby sobbed into the phone. I need your help. Someone's been telling the creditors where to find me. I stirred my morning coffee, watching the steam rise. Creditors? What creditors? Don't play dumb, she snapped, then quickly softened her tone. Sorry, I'm just stressed. Could you maybe loan me a little more, just until things settle down? How much is a little, Ruby? 50,000? Her voice went small, practice, the same voice she'd used on our parents countless times. I'll pay you back double, triple. My sponsorship deals are about to, like you paid back the 30,000? Silence. Ruby? That money went to the house, she said quickly. You know that. I opened my laptop where Joanna had just sent over Ruby's latest credit card statement. Did it? Because I'm looking at some interesting charges from the day after I transferred it. You're tracking my spending? The fake tears vanished from her voice. That's illegal. Actually, it's not. You signed the paperwork yourself, remember? More silence then. Does Mom know about this? Does Dad? There it was, the trump card she'd always played, family loyalty. Not yet, I said calmly, but Jonah might be interested in seeing these casino charges from last weekend. You wouldn't dare. Her voice turned cold. I'll tell them everything, how you've always been jealous, how you're trying to ruin my life. Go ahead, I cut her off. I'm sure they'd love to hear about the Paris shopping spree too, or should we start with the maxed out credit cards in Dad's name? The line went dead. My phone buzzed immediately with a text from Joanna. Package delivered to your door. Everything we found. You might want to sit down for this one. I retrieved the package, a simple manila envelope, and spread its contents across my kitchen table. Bank statements, credit card bills, loan applications, GPS logs. But what caught my eye was a single document with a government letterhead. Oh, Ruby, I whispered. What did you do? My phone rang again. This time it was Jonah. I found her secret account, he said without preamble. The one she opened the day after your transfer. Eloise, there's nothing left. I know. No, you don't understand. There's nothing left anywhere. Our savings, the kids' college funds, everything. She's emptied it all. I looked at the government document again. Jonah, when was the last time you checked your credit score? His sharp intake of breath told me everything. Why? Because I'm looking at 6 loan applications in your name, all approved, all maxed out. But I never, he stopped. She forged my signature? Among other things. I shuffled through the papers. Want to know where your kids' college funds really went? Tell me. First-class tickets to Dubai, designer shopping sprees, 5-star hotels, all while you were working overtime to make ends meet. The silence on his end was deafening. Jonah, send me everything, he said quietly. Every document, every receipt, every lie. Are you sure? Once this starts? Send it. After hanging up, I checked my alerts. Ruby was at a luxury spa right now, probably trying to relax away her problems with my money. A text from my mother popped up. Ruby says you're being difficult about a small loan. Really, Eloise? After everything she's done for the family? I started typing a response, then deleted it. Let them keep believing in their perfect daughter, for now. My doorbell rang. It was Joanna holding another file. Found these this morning, she said, spreading out more documents. Looks like Ruby's been running a little Ponzi scheme with her influencer followers, taking investments for fake products, using new money to pay off old investors. I picked up a complaint filed with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. How many people? Hundreds, mostly young women who followed her lifestyle posts. Total damages around $2 million. My phone lit up with another call from Ruby, ignored. What's your plan? Joanna asked. I gathered all the evidence into one folder. We wait. For what? Right on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from Jonah. Just found her hidden account. What do I do? I smiled, thinking of all the birthdays, all the family dinners, all the times I'd been told to be more like my perfect sister. We wait for them to realize that perfect people often cast the darkest shadows. The knock on my door came at midnight. Jonah stood there clutching a shopping bag full of unopened bills. Found these in her desk, he said, pushing past me into the apartment. All addressed to Ruby, all marked final notice. He dumped the contents onto my coffee table. Some are from 2 years ago. I picked up one of the envelopes. Credit card bill, $47,000 past due. Have you opened them? Didn't need to. He pulled out his phone. Because I found these. He played a voicemail. This message is for Ruby James Wilcox regarding the defaulted business loan. Legal action will commence. There's more, he said, swiping through messages. Dozens more. From banks, credit cards, private lenders, even some of her followers demanding their investment money back. I walked to my study and returned with my laptop. Then it's time you saw everything. For the next hour, I showed him the complete trail, the compiled financial records, the secret accounts, the forged documents, the Instagram posts bragging about luxury purchases while their children's school fees went unpaid. Here's her location history, I said, pulling up a map. See this? While you were working double shifts last month, she was at a 5-star resort in Miami with Cecilia. Jonah's face went pale. The weekend she said she was visiting her sick aunt? The aunt she doesn't have? Yes. He stood up suddenly, pacing my living room. I have to tell someone. The police. Already know, I said, showing him the FBI complaints. Your wife isn't just a shopaholic, Jonah. She's running a pyramid scheme through her social media. The house deposit was gone before the ink dried on the transfer. He collapsed back onto my couch. Why are you showing me this now? Because you needed to see it yourself. Would you have believed me otherwise? He shook his head slowly. What do I do? I opened my email and typed our parents' address. First, we show them the truth. Your parents? They'll never believe it. They will when they see this. I attached the complete file, every receipt, every lie, every secret account. Added a simple message, time to wake up. Hit send. My phone rang almost immediately. Mother's number. I let it go to voicemail. Eloise. Her voice trembled through the speaker. I think we made a mistake. Please come over. Jonah was already grabbing his coat. I need to get the kids, get them somewhere safe before. Go, I said. I'll handle the fallout. After he left, I listened to the stream of voicemails flooding in. My father, uncharacteristically quiet. Please call us. My mother, increasingly desperate. This can't be right. There must be some mistake. Ruby, furious. What have you done? You've ruined everything. I drove to their house slowly, rehearsing what I'd say. But when my mother opened the door, mascara streaking her cheeks, words weren't necessary. Is it true? She whispered. I handed her my phone, open to Ruby's secret Instagram account. Photos of her living it up in Paris while begging for the house deposit. Videos of her bragging about scamming her followers. There's more, I said, pulling out a USB drive. Every transaction, every lie, even the credit card she took out in Dad's name. My father appeared behind her, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Would you have believed me? Over her? They led me to the living room where Ruby's perfect family photos still lined the walls. My mother's hands shook as she plugged the USB into their laptop. Oh, God, she gasped, scrolling through the evidence. The children's college funds. Gone, I confirmed, along with everything else. My phone buzzed. A text from Jonah. Kids are safe at my brother's, filing for separation tomorrow. Another buzz. Ruby again. You think you've won? Wait until I tell them about you. How you set me up. How you've always been jealous. I blocked her number. What do we do? My mother asked, still staring at the screen. Nothing, I said. It's already done. The FBI is investigating the investment scam. The banks are freezing accounts. Jonah's leaving. But she's our daughter, my father protested weakly. And what am I? The question hung in the air, heavy with 35 years of favoritism and blind eyes. My mother reached for my hand. Eloise. We didn't know. You didn't want to know, I corrected her, standing up. There's a difference. I left them there, surrounded by the evidence of their perfect daughter's perfect lies. As I drove home, my phone lit up with one final text from Jonah. Thank you for showing me the truth. I smiled, thinking of Ruby's empty throne, finally toppled by her own lies. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's illumination. You planned all this, my mother said quietly. We sat in their kitchen a week later, the morning light casting long shadows across the granite countertops. From the very beginning, I stirred my tea, watching the leaves swirl. No, I just stopped protecting you from the truth. But the tracking, the evidence. She pushed away her untouched coffee. You must have known what she was doing. I suspected. Ruby's never been as clever as she thinks. My father joined us, looking haggard. The FBI had visited yesterday, asking questions about Ruby's social media investment scheme. The investigators say it could be federal charges. $2 million is a lot of money to steal, I said. Borrow. My mother corrected automatically, then caught herself. Old habits die hard. My phone buzzed. A message from Joanna. Ruby just tried to board a flight to Dubai. Airport security stopped her. She's running? My father asked, seeing my expression. Trying to. I showed them the text. She won't get far. My mother's hands trembled as she reached for her coffee. I keep thinking, all those times she needed money, all those emergencies, were any of them real? Does it matter now? Of course it matters, she snapped. We gave her everything, defended her against everyone, even you. Her voice broke, especially you. The doorbell rang. Jonah stood there with his 2 children, looking uncertain. The kids wanted to say goodbye, he said, before we move. My mother rushed to hug her grandchildren while my father stood awkwardly by the stairs. These might be the last moments they'd have together for a long time. Where will you go? I asked Jonah quietly. My brother's place in Seattle? Fresh start. He handed me an envelope. The lawyers found more accounts. She was stealing from her followers right until the end. Inside were screenshots of Ruby's private messages to her victims, young women who'd trusted her, invested their savings in her fake products, believed in her perfect life. I've been getting calls, my mother said, still holding her grandchildren, from these girls' parents. They trusted her, like we did. My phone lit up with another alert. Ruby had just posted on her main Instagram account, "The truth about my toxic family, live in 10 minutes. Let her talk, I said, seeing their panic. Nobody's listening anymore. Jonah gathered the children, making promises about video calls and summer visits. After they left, my mother turned to me. You could have exposed her years ago. Why now? I thought about the house deposit, the final straw in a lifetime of exploitation. Because sometimes people need to lose everything to see what they had. And what did we have, Eloise? My father asked. A daughter who lied to us, or a daughter we refused to see? Both, I said simply. My phone buzzed again. Ruby's Instagram Live had started. I connected it to their TV, letting them watch their perfect daughter's mask finally crack. They're trying to destroy me, Ruby sobbed to her dwindling followers. My own sister, so jealous she set me up. My husband stealing my children, my toxic parents. I turned it off. She'll keep lying until there's no one left to lie to. You? My mother hesitated. You have proof of everything? I pulled out my laptop, showing them the complete timeline, every transaction, every fake investment, every stolen moment of their misplaced trust. The house deposit was just the beginning, I explained. She's been running cons for years. The influencer lifestyle, the perfect marriage, even her charity work. It was all fake. My father's face crumpled. We enabled this, didn't we? You believed what you wanted to believe. My mother reached for my hand. And you? What did you believe all these years? That someday you'd see her for who she really was, or see me for who I wasn't. Their silence spoke volumes. My phone rang. Jonah again. The FBI wants to talk to Ruby's parents. They're building their case. I looked at my parents, seeing the weight of their choices finally settling on their shoulders. They'll cooperate. After ending the call, I stood to leave. My mother grabbed my arm. Eloise, she whispered, you planned all this. I thought about Ruby's tears always on cue, her manipulations always perfectly timed, her lies always carefully crafted. No, Mom, I said gently. Ruby planned this. Every choice, every lie, every stolen dollar. I just showed you the receipts. As I walked to my car, another notification popped up. Ruby's Instagram Live had ended abruptly, probably as the FBI arrived at her door. Sometimes revenge isn't about destruction. Sometimes it's about revelation. The Instagram notification made me pause mid-sip of my morning coffee. Ruby's account has been deactivated. My phone immediately lit up with texts. Joanna, it's done. FBI sees everything. Jonah, the kids are settling in well. They asked about their mom once, just once. And finally, my mother. Can we come over, please? I texted back a simple yes and waited. 20 minutes later, my parents arrived carrying a familiar-looking box. We found these, my mother said, placing it on my kitchen counter while cleaning out Ruby's old room. Inside were photos, cards, and certificates, but not Ruby's. They were mine. Academic awards, I thought, lost. Pictures of achievements they'd never acknowledge. Birthday cards they'd never seemed to read. You kept them? I asked. Ruby did, my father said quietly, in her closet, hidden behind her things. My mother pulled out a crumpled newspaper clipping, my first promotion at the finance firm. She kept everything you accomplished, everything we overlooked. Why? The FBI agent explained it, my father said. She needed to track you, to know what you were doing, how successful you were becoming, so she could. He trailed off. Stay ahead, I finished for him. Keep being the perfect daughter. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Social media influencer charged in multi-million-dollar investment fraud. My mother flinched at the headline. They're calling her the Instagram swindler now. Better than perfect daughter, I said. My father reached into his pocket and pulled out a check. It's not much, nothing compared to what you lost, but it's everything we have in our retirement account. I pushed it back across the table. Keep it. You'll need it. But the house deposit was a lesson, I interrupted, for all of us. My phone lit up again, a message from an unknown number. This is Detective Morrison. Your sister's asking to speak with you. I showed my parents the text. They waited, watching me. No, I typed back. My mother touched my arm. She's still your sister. No, I said firmly. She's your cautionary tale. The doorbell rang. It was Joanna carrying files. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. She spread documents across my kitchen counter, loan applications, bank statements, and a letter marked bankruptcy notice. Ruby's applying for bankruptcy protection, Joanna explained. She needs a family member to co-sign, claiming emotional distress and manipulation. My mother reached for the papers, but I stopped her. Don't, I said. This is what she does, one last play for sympathy. But if we don't help, then she'll finally face consequences, I finished, like everyone else. I took the bankruptcy notice and ripped it in half, then quarters, then eighths. The sound of tearing paper echoed in my quiet kitchen. My father cleared his throat. The FBI agent said she kept records of everything, every person she scammed, every lie she told, even had a spreadsheet of times she manipulated us against you. Of course she did, I said. Perfect crimes require perfect bookkeeping. My phone buzzed one final time. A video message from Jonah. His kids playing in their new backyard, laughing, free. We failed you, my mother whispered. All these years, we failed you. I looked at the torn bankruptcy notice, at the box of my hidden achievements, at the parents who were finally seeing clearly. No, I said, you failed yourselves. I succeeded despite it. Joanna gathered her files. The FBI wants to know if you'll testify. I thought about Ruby's perfect smile, her calculated tears, her weaponized perfection, about all the lives she had ruined chasing an image that was never real. Yes, I said, it's time for a different kind of family loyalty. My parents stood to leave, the weight of decades of willful blindness visible in their shoulders. My mother paused at the door. What happens now? She asked. I looked at my phone, at the final text from Detective Morrison. Your sister confessed to everything, said she did it to maintain expectations. Now, I said, we live in truth, however uncomfortable it might be. After they left, I opened my banking app. My savings account balance glowed back at me, untouched, protected, mine. No more family emergencies, no more perfect daughters, perfect needs. Sometimes karma isn't about revenge. Sometimes it's about balance. I deleted Ruby's contact from my phone and blocked the prison's number preemptively. Then I texted Jonah, tell the kids their aunt sends her love. Because sometimes family isn't about blood, it's about truth. And truth, unlike perfection, never needs to pretend. I smiled and raised my glass as they toasted my demotion. 15 years of my life, reduced to a wooden plaque that read, Founder's Daughter. The crystal champagne flute trembled slightly in my grip as I watched my younger brother Mark beam from his seat at the head of the table, my seat by rights. My name is Brianna, and I turned my father's failing hardware store into a $10 million enterprise. But apparently, that wasn't enough to earn the CEO position I'd spent my entire adult life working toward. To Mark Hansen, our new chief executive officer. My father's voice boomed across our family dining room where we gathered for our traditional Christmas dinner. And to Brianna for supporting the family business all these years. Supporting, always supporting, never leading. The other executives and board members, all men naturally, clinked their glasses and murmured their approval. My mother caught my eye from across the table, her smile strained. She knew She always knew, and she never said a word. "Speech!" someone called out, and Mark stood up, straightening his designer tie that probably cost more than our first store's monthly rent. "Well, wow," he chuckled, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair. "This is unexpected." I nearly choked on my champagne. Unexpected. He'd spent the last 5 years floating between Buddhist retreats and startup ventures that went nowhere, while I worked 14-hour days expanding our market share. "But Dad's right. It's time for fresh blood, a man's touch at the helm." Mark grinned. "No offense, sis." "None taken," I replied, my voice steady despite the inferno raging in my chest. "You'll do great things, I'm sure." Carlos, our operations manager, shot me a concerned look. He knew better than anyone what I'd sacrificed for this company, the missed dates, the canceled vacations, the endless nights poring over expansion strategies. "Brianna," my father called out, "come up here and give your brother a proper welcome." I rose smoothly, my black cocktail dress catching the light from the chandelier I'd helped pick out when we renovated the family home. Walking to the front of the room felt like crossing a battlefield in heels. "Mark," I said, turning to face the crowd, "I remember when you were 10 and you used to play store in the warehouse." Gentle laughter rippled through the room. "You'd stack empty boxes and pretend to be Dad." Mark's smile flickered. He remembered what came next. "You knocked over an entire shelf of premium power tools. $30,000 in damaged merchandise." I paused, letting that sink in. "I covered for you. Told Dad it was my fault for not securing the shelving properly." "Ancient history," Mark said quickly, but I wasn't finished. "That's what family does, right? We support each other." I raised my glass again. "To the new CEO. May you handle the real inventory better than the empty boxes." Scattered chuckles. More uncomfortable this time. My father's face had darkened, but he couldn't say anything without making a scene. Later, as guests filtered out into the snowy December night, he cornered me in the kitchen. "That was inappropriate," he growled, his breath heavy with bourbon. "You're supposed to be setting an example." "Like the example you set?" I loaded plates into the dishwasher with precise movements. "Giving the company to someone who couldn't tell a Phillips head from a flathead 6 months ago?" "Mark has vision, leadership quality. He'll learn the details." I slammed the dishwasher shut. "I doubled our revenue last quarter. I opened 3 new locations. You did your job," he cut me off. "But this company needs someone who can take it to the next level, someone who can command respect." "Because I'm what? Too soft? Too emotional?" The words tasted like acid. "Because you're my daughter," he said, as if that explained everything. "And I need to think about the future." I looked at him then, really looked at him. Gray hair, weathered face, that familiar stubborn set to his jaw. For the first time I saw him clearly, not as my father, but as an obstacle. "You're right," I said quietly. "We should all think about the future." He seemed surprised by my sudden calm, but satisfied. He patted my shoulder awkwardly before shuffling off to join the remaining guests. I stood alone in the kitchen, fingering the cheap plaque they'd given me, "Founder's Daughter," as if that was all I'd ever been, all I'd ever be. They thought this was my end, my final chapter in the story of Hanson Hardware. But they didn't know about the papers sitting in my home office, about the meetings I'd had with suppliers, about the new company I'd incorporated 6 months ago when I first saw the writing on the wall. They thought this was my end. It was only my opening move. 6 months before that Christmas dinner, I sat in my office reviewing next year's leadership forecasts. The spring sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the spreadsheet that confirmed what my gut had been telling me for months. "These projections," I said to Carlos, tapping my screen. "Notice anything interesting about the executive restructuring plan?" Carlos leaned over my shoulder, his forehead creasing. They've already penciled in Mark as CEO, but he's not even... He straightened up, meeting my eyes. How long have you known that my father would never let a woman run his precious company? I closed the laptop. Probably since I was 12, and he told me I should focus on looking pretty instead of learning inventory management. What are you going to do? I pulled a folder from my desk drawer and handed it to him. I incorporated a new company last week, Nexora Systems. Carlos flipped through the papers, his eyebrows rising. Smart home technology distribution? This is the future, I finished. The same future I pitched to the board 3 months ago, the one my father called too risky and ahead of its time. And you want me to run it with me as CEO. I stood up and walked to the window. They'll expect me to stay here to keep playing the good daughter while Mark runs this company into the ground, but we both know Hanson Hardware needs to evolve or die. Carlos was quiet for a long moment. Your father trusts me. I could stay, feed you information. No, I turned back to him. I need you visible, above board. They'll never suspect you're working with me if you're openly running a competing company. A knock at the door interrupted us. Samantha, our corporate attorney, strode in without waiting for a response. The contracts are ready, she announced, dropping a thick stack of papers on my desk. Exclusive distribution rights for the entire U.S. market. Once you sign these, no one, including Hanson Hardware, can sell these products without going through Nexora. You're sure it's airtight? I asked. Samantha's perfectly manicured nails drummed against the papers. They won't find a single loophole. I made sure of it. What about your position here? Carlos asked her. Already lined up my replacement. Some fresh-faced kid from Harvard who won't know what hit him when everything goes down. I picked up a pen, its weight suddenly significant. Once I sign these, there's no going back. There's no going back anyway, Carlos said softly. You know that. I did know. I'd known it since finding that email thread between my father and the board members, discussing Mark's natural leadership qualities while dismissing my years of proven success as good support work. The pen moved across the paper in swift, angry strokes. It's done, I said, pushing the contracts toward Samantha. Make it official. Later that afternoon, I sat in yet another board meeting, watching my father praise Mark's latest initiative, a poorly researched expansion plan that would have bankrupted us within a year. Brianna, my father's voice cut through my thoughts. You've been quiet. What do you think of your brother's proposal? I smiled, the same smile I'd perfected over years of being patted on the head and told to know my place. It's very ambitious, but have we considered the supply chain implications? Always with the details, Mark laughed. Sometimes you have to think bigger, sis. Take risks. Speaking of risks, I replied smoothly, have you secured the smart home tech lines for this expansion? Those products account for 40% of your projected revenue. Mark's confidence wavered. Well, we have existing relationships with... Actually, I cut in, I heard those distribution rights were just acquired by a new player in the market. Nexora Systems, I believe. The room grew quiet. My father's eyes narrowed. I'm sure we can negotiate, he said firmly. I gathered my papers, standing to leave. I'm sure someone will try. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with our Asian suppliers. As I walked out, I heard Mark ask, who runs this Nexora company anyway? I paused at the door. I'm sure you'll find out soon enough. Back in my office, I emailed Samantha one final instruction. No distribution exceptions, even to Hanson Hardware. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Having dinner with your father and Mark tonight? They're discussing the future. Please join us. I typed back. Can't. Working late. Someone has to mind the details. Setting my phone aside, I pulled up the incorporation papers for Nexora Systems. The familiar anger rose in my chest as I remembered all the times I'd been told to wait my turn, to be patient, to support the men in charge. Well, I was done waiting, done supporting, done being the good daughter who smiled and nodded while they built their boys' club on the foundation of my work. They wanted me to know my place. I was about to show them exactly where that was. Back in the present, 2 weeks after that Christmas dinner, I watched through Nexora's office windows as Mark's face plastered every business news channel. He'd called a press conference to announce Hanson Hardware's bold new direction. "Turn it up," I told Samantha, who grabbed the remote. Excited to announce our exclusive partnership with cutting-edge smart home technology providers. Mark was saying, his smile too wide, too confident. Hanson Hardware will be the only destination for these revolutionary products. "Does he know?" Carlos asked, entering my office with coffee. "That he's announcing a partnership that doesn't exist?" I took a sip from the cup he offered. "No, but he's about to find out." My phone buzzed. Veronica, Mark's new executive assistant, had texted. "Emergency board meeting called for 3 p.m. He's freaking out." I'd met Veronica for coffee last week after noticing how Mark relegated her to fetching his dry cleaning despite her MBA and 5 years of industry experience. She'd been surprisingly direct. "He makes me organize his dating app matches," she'd told me, stirring her latte. "Yesterday he asked me to alphabetize his protein powder collection. Sounds frustrating for someone with your qualifications?" "Frustrating doesn't begin to cover it." She leaned forward. "I saw your name on some old strategy documents. The company's growth trajectory. It was all you, wasn't it?" I'd simply smiled and slid her my business card. "If you ever want to work somewhere that values talent over testosterone." Now, watching Mark sweat through his designer suit on TV, I knew Veronica had been worth every penny of the signing bonus I'd promised her. My phone rang. It was Jalen, Hanson's strategic buyer. "Please tell me you can explain why our suppliers are saying we don't have distribution rights for the smart tech line," he said without preamble. "Have you tried calling Nexora Systems? Their CEO's office keeps redirecting me to legal." He paused. "Brianna, what's going on?" "Ask Mark. He's the one who announced an exclusive partnership without securing the contract first." After hanging up, I turned to Carlos. "How long until they figure it out?" "The press release is already being picked apart online. Trading's been suspended twice." My father called next. I let it go to voicemail. "Brianna," his message growled, "whatever game you're playing, stop it now. Your brother needs your support in this transition. Call me back immediately." I deleted the message and checked my watch. 2:05 p.m. "Shall we head over?" Carlos asked. "Let's give them a few minutes to stew." At 3:30, we walked into Hanson Hardware's boardroom. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Mark jumped up when he saw us. "Where have you been? We've got a crisis." "Sit down, Mark," my father snapped. He turned to me. "What do you know about Nexora Systems?" I took my time settling into a chair, smoothing my skirt. "I know they hold exclusive distribution rights for the smart home product line you just promised to every major retailer in the country." "That's impossible," Mark sputtered. "We have relationships with these suppliers going back years." "Relationships aren't contracts," I replied. "Maybe you should have checked that before making promises to the press." My father's face reddened. "You're behind this somehow. You've always been jealous of your brothers." "Success?" I cut in. "What success would that be? The failed startups? The meditation retreats? Or maybe you mean his successful strategy of being born male?" "How dare you?" No, how dare you? I stood up, planting both hands on the table. I built this company into what it is today. I created these supplier relationships. I developed these expansion strategies. And you handed it all to someone who couldn't tell a profit margin from a profit motive. Mark's face had gone pale. We can fix this. We'll offer them whatever they want. They don't want anything from you, Carlos said quietly, because they already have an exclusive contract with us. The room went silent as understanding dawned on their faces. Us? My father whispered. I smiled, the same smile I'd given them at Christmas. Carlos is CEO of Nexora Systems. I paused for effect. And I own controlling interests. You can't do this to us, Mark said, his voice cracking. We're family. Family? I picked up my briefcase. I stopped being family the moment you took credit for my life's work. Now I'm just another competitor. I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and Mark, you might want to prepare a statement walking back that press conference. Lying to shareholders is generally frowned upon. As Carlos and I walked out, I heard my father shouting for someone to get their lawyers on the phone, but we all knew it was too late. The game had changed, and I was done playing by their rules. A week later, I sat across from Mark and my father in Nexora's conference room. The table between us might as well have been an ocean. Samantha sat to my right, a stack of contracts before her. Carlos stood by the window, watching the city below. These terms are ridiculous, Mark said, throwing down the proposal. A 50% markup? Minimum order quantities that would fill 3 warehouses? Market rate, I replied calmly, for an exclusive cutting-edge product line. Market rate? My father's face was turning that dangerous shade of purple I remembered from childhood arguments. This is highway robbery. No, I corrected him, this is business. The same business you taught me. Leverage your advantages, remember? We're your family, he growled. You were my family at Christmas, too. Didn't stop you from humiliating me in front of the entire board. Mark leaned forward, trying his best executive pose. Look, sis, I know you're upset. Upset? I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make him flinch. I'm not upset, Mark. I'm negotiating. But if you'd rather not stock the most anticipated smart home products of the year, that's your choice. I'm sure your competitors will be happy to pay our rates. Your rates are impossible, my father snapped. You'll bankrupt us. Actually, Samantha interjected, sliding forward another document. Our financial analysis suggests Hanson Hardware could manage these terms if you hadn't leveraged the company for Mark's expansion plan. I watched their faces as that sank in. The expansion plan I would have shot down in a heartbeat if I'd still been in charge. How did you get these numbers? Mark whispered. You should screen your executive assistants better, I replied. Veronica sends her regards. My father stood up so fast his chair toppled backward. You planted a spy? I didn't plant anything. Veronica came to me after Mark had her reorganize his sock drawer instead of letting her use her MBA. This is corporate espionage. No, Carlos spoke up from the window. This is karma. The door opened and my mother walked in. I hadn't invited her. Mom, I said, keeping my voice neutral, this is a closed meeting. I'm still a shareholder, she replied, taking a seat, and this needs to stop. Does it? I turned to face her fully. Like you stopped Dad from undermining me for 20 years? Like you stopped them from taking everything I built? Brianna, please. Her voice cracked. We can work this out as a family. Family? I stood up, my hands flat on the table. Where was family when Dad told investors I was too emotional for leadership? Where was family when Mark took credit for my expansion strategy? Where was family when you sat there at Christmas and watched them reduce 15 years of my life to a participation trophy? The silence that followed was deafening. You want to work something out? I continued, my voice steady despite the trembling in my chest. Here are your options. Accept our terms or watch your market share disappear while your competitors stock our products. Your choice. You're betraying this family, my father said, his voice low and dangerous. You set the market rate for betrayal at Christmas dinner, I replied. I'm just meeting it. Mark was staring at the financial documents, his face ashen. Dad, these numbers? We can't survive without this product line. We'll find another supplier, my father insisted. There is no other supplier, Carlos said. We made sure of that. My mother stood up suddenly. Brianna? A word in private? I followed her into the hallway where she turned to me with tears in her eyes. I know I should have stood up for you more, she said, but destroying the company won't heal that hurt. This isn't about healing, I replied. It's about consequences. You're becoming just like him, stubborn, unforgiving. No, I said, stepping back toward the conference room. I'm becoming what he always wanted, a ruthless business leader. Funny how he doesn't like it when it's turned against him. Back in the room, Mark and my father were huddled over the contracts, whispering furiously. Tick-tock, Samantha said, checking her watch. Our other meetings start in 30 minutes. Other meetings? Mark's head snapped up. Your competitors have expressed strong interest in exclusive regional rights, I explained. We're entertaining offers this afternoon? My father's face went from purple to white. You wouldn't. Try me. Mark grabbed a pen with shaking hands. Where do I sign? Mark, don't. My father started. We don't have a choice, Dad. You saw the numbers. I watched as Mark signed away Hanson Hardware's future, one dotted line at a time. My father stormed out without a word. My mother lingered at the door. I hope this makes you happy, she said softly. I met her eyes. It's not about happiness anymore. It's about justice. The door closed behind her with a final click. The next month passed in a blur of numbers, each one worse than the last for Hanson Hardware. I watched their decline through reports Veronica sent me, each one a small victory that somehow felt hollow. Another store closing in Portland, Carlos announced, dropping a newspaper on my desk. That's 3 this quarter. I barely glanced up from my laptop. They're over-leveraged. Mark's expansion plan was, Brianna, Carlos cut me off. When was the last time you slept? I checked my watch, realized I couldn't remember. The office had become my home, revenge, my sustenance. I'm fine. You're not fine. You just snapped at Samantha for bringing you the wrong coffee. She knows I hate caramel. She's never gotten your order wrong in 3 years. Carlos sat down across from me. You're burning out. Before I could argue, my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Found something you should see. Come into your office. Great, I muttered. Another guilt trip. But when my mother arrived 30 minutes later, she wasn't carrying photos of family holidays or childhood memories. She had an envelope, yellowed with age. I found this while cleaning your father's study, she said, placing it on my desk. It's from 15 years ago. I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter from my father to an investor, dated just after I'd started working at the company. My hands shook as I read, While my daughter shows promise in operations, there's no room for softness at the top. My son Mark will eventually take the reins. Brianna's role will be to prepare the way for him. He planned this, I whispered, from the very beginning. There's more, my mother said quietly. The next page detailed how my father had manipulated projects to ensure Mark got credit for my work, how he'd steered investors away from my initiatives, how he'd systematically undermined my authority while building Mark's image. Why are you showing me this? I asked her. Because I'm tired of secrets. She met my eyes. And because you deserve to know the truth. And what am I supposed to do with the truth? Whatever you need to. She stood up. I've enabled his behavior long enough. After she left, I called Samantha. How would this play in the media? A systematic campaign of gender discrimination by a CEO against his own daughter? I could hear her smile. It would play very well. But before we could act, my phone rang. It was Veronica. Mark's losing it, she said without preamble. He just fired 3 department heads and promoted his gym buddy to CFO. His gym buddy? The guy can barely work Excel. The board's having an emergency meeting tomorrow. I forwarded the letter to Samantha. Make it public. Brianna, Carlos warned, this will destroy them completely. They destroyed themselves, I snapped. I'm just providing the evidence. The story broke the next morning. Family business or family betrayal? Screamed the headlines. Social media exploded with outrage. Hanson Hardware's stock plummeted. Mark called me, his voice cracking. Did you do this? No, Mark, Dad did this 15 years ago. The board wants my resignation. They're talking about lawsuits. Karma's interesting that way. Please, he begged, help me fix this. I thought about all the times I'd fixed his mistakes, covered his tracks, made him look good. No. Later that night, Carlos found me staring out my office window at the city lights. You haven't celebrated, he observed. What's to celebrate? I won by becoming exactly what they always said I was. Cold, ruthless, unfeeling. That's not... I just got off the phone with Jalen, I cut him off. He's resigning tomorrow. Says he can't work for either side anymore because we're all toxic. He's not wrong, Carlos said softly. I turned to face him. Are you leaving too? No, but I'm worried about you. This victory is eating you alive. It's not about victory anymore. I picked up the letter from my desk. It's about justice? He shook his head. Or is it just pain now? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A news alert. My father had suffered a minor stroke during an emergency board meeting. He was stable but hospitalized. My mother's text followed immediately. This is what you wanted, right? I stared at the message, feeling nothing and everything at once. Carlos touched my shoulder gently. What now? Now? I looked at my reflection in the window, barely recognizing myself. Now we finish what they started. But as I said it, I wondered who exactly I was finishing, them or me. The press conference was a train wreck. I watched it live from my office, unable to look away as Mark tried to set the record straight about our father's letter. My sister has always been valued at Hanson Hardware, he stammered, sweat visible through his expensive shirt. These allegations of discrimination are... Is it true your father groomed you for the position while actively undermining your sister? A reporter called out. Did you know about the letter? Shouted another. Mark's eyes darted around like a cornered animal. That's not... The important thing is our commitment to our customers. Is it true your recent expansion plan has left the company on the brink of bankruptcy? The live stream cut off abruptly. My phone immediately lit up with a text from Veronica. He just vomited in a potted plant and ran off stage. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired. Samantha burst into my office without knocking. We have a problem. Someone accessed our servers last night. What? I sat up straight. How? Internal access point. They were looking at our distribution contracts and launch calendar. Veronica? She's not responding to calls. I grabbed my coat. Where was her last known location? The coffee shop near Hanson Hardware's main office. She was supposed to meet me there an hour ago with some documents. I found Veronica sitting alone in the back of the coffee shop, staring into an untouched latte. Planning to sell our data to the highest bidder? I asked, sliding into the seat across from her. She didn't look up. Mark offered me $500,000 for Nexora's launch calendar. And I told him to shove it. Now she met my eyes. But I kept the data. Why? Insurance. I wanted to see what kind of monster you were becoming. The word hit me like a slap. Monster? Look at yourself, Brianna. When is the last time you did anything except plot revenge? You're not sleeping, barely eating. You've pushed away everyone who cares about you. They deserved what? To lose everything? To watch their life's work crumble? She leaned forward. Your father had a stroke. Is that enough punishment? You don't understand. I understand perfectly. They hurt you deeply, systematically, unforgivably. But you're letting that hurt turn you into something worse than they ever were. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Hanson Hardware stock had been suspended from trading again. They're finished anyway, Veronica continued. The board is forcing a sale. Your revenge is complete. So what's left of you? I thought about Carlos's worried looks, Samantha's careful distance, the way my mother couldn't meet my eyes anymore. I didn't access your servers to steal data, Veronica said quietly. I did it to show you what you've become, someone who trusts no one, who sees betrayal around every corner, who's just like him, I finished. She nodded slowly. The question is that who you want to be? My phone rang. It was Mark. The buyers want to meet, he said without greeting. Some private equity firm. They're offering pennies on the dollar. And I need your help one last time. Not for me, but for the employees. 3,000 people are about to lose their jobs because of our family drama. I thought about all the people who'd worked for us over the years, the families that depended on those paychecks. Send me the details, I said finally. After hanging up, I looked at Veronica. You kept the data as leverage, but not against us, against yourself. What do you mean? You needed to prove you could have betrayed us but chose not to, because that's what real loyalty looks like. I stood up, something I've forgotten lately. Back at my office, Carlos was waiting with more news. The private equity firm? He said. They're going to strip the company for parts, sell off the real estate, liquidate inventory, fire everyone. I stared out the window at the city skyline. Somewhere out there, 3,000 families were about to get very bad news. Unless, Carlos added, unless what? Unless someone else buys them first, someone who knows the business inside and out, someone who could actually turn it around. I turned to face him. You can't be serious. Why not? You won the war, Brianna. Maybe it's time to stop burning bridges and start building something new. My phone buzzed again. A text from my mother. Your father's asking for you. I looked at the message for a long moment, then at Carlos. Get Samantha, I said finally. We need to draft a proposal. For what? A hostile takeover, but this time we're going to do it right. Because maybe Veronica was right. Maybe the real question wasn't what I could destroy, but what I could build from the ashes. The hospital room was quiet except for the steady beep of monitors. My father looked smaller somehow, diminished against the white sheets. He turned his head as I entered, his eyes clearing with recognition. Come to finish what you started. His voice was weak but still carried that familiar edge. No. I sat in the chair beside his bed. I came to make you an offer. More revenge. A buyout. Nexora Systems will purchase Hanson Hardware at fair market value. He tried to sit up, wincing. So you can destroy everything I built? So I can save it. I placed the proposal on his bedside table. 3,000 jobs, 40 years of business relationships, a legacy worth preserving despite everything. Why? Because I'm tired of burning things down. I met his gaze. Aren't you? Before he could answer, Mark burst into the room, waving his phone. The private equity firm just doubled their offer. Sit down, I told him. Both of you need to hear this. I laid out my plan: merge Hanson Hardware with Nexora Systems, modernize the operations, retain the employees, and create something stronger than either company could be alone. You'd be in charge, my father said slowly. Yes, completely. No advisory roles, no family positions, pure business. Mark slumped in his chair. What about me? You get to walk away with your shares' value instead of bankruptcy. I turned back to my father. This is my only offer. Take it or deal with the private equity vultures. My father was quiet for a long moment. You found my letter. Mom did. She chose to show me. I thought, he started, then stopped. I thought I was protecting you. This business, it's brutal. I didn't want... Save it, I cut him off. I don't need your explanations or excuses. I need your signature, yes or no. He reached for the papers with a trembling hand. Your mother was right about you. You're stronger than I ever was. That's not strength, I said quietly. That's survival. After he signed, Mark walked me to the parking lot. I really screwed up, didn't I? He asked. We all did. Some of us just started earlier than others. Back at Nexora's offices, Carlos and Samantha were waiting with champagne. Save it, I told them. We have work to do. Always work, Carlos sighed. You know, normal people celebrate victories. This isn't a victory, I replied. It's a responsibility. Veronica appeared in the doorway. The employees are asking questions. They need to hear from someone they trust. Set up an all-hands meeting, I said. Both companies, tomorrow morning. That night, I found myself back at the original Hanson hardware store, the one where I'd started as a teenager learning inventory from dusty shelves and ancient ledgers. My mother was there, standing in the empty parking lot. I knew I'd find you here, she said. Did you ever regret it? I asked, staying quiet all those years. Every day. She touched my arm gently. But you're not me, Brianna. You found your voice and used it to tear everything apart. No, you used it to force change. There's a difference. My phone buzzed. A message from Samantha. Merger documents are ready. Private equity firm is threatening litigation. Let them, I typed back. We have right of first refusal. They can't touch us. My mother read the message over my shoulder. What happens now? Now I build something new, something better. Alone? I thought about Carlos's loyalty, Veronica's honesty, Samantha's dedication. No, not alone. The next morning I stood before hundreds of nervous employees. Their faces showed the same fear I'd felt at that Christmas dinner, the same uncertainty about the future. I know you're scared, I began. Change is scary. Trust me, I know. But what we're building here isn't about revenge or power. It's about proving that success doesn't require sacrificing people for profit. I saw heads nodding, faces relaxing. Every person in this room has value. Every voice matters. And together, we're going to create something extraordinary. As I finished speaking, Carlos handed me a familiar wooden plaque, the one from Christmas. Founder's Daughter. I held it up. This was meant to define me, to put me in my place. I dropped it into a trash can. But we define ourselves, and my definition includes all of you. The applause started slowly, then built to a roar. Later, Veronica found me in my office. So, she said, still a monster? I smiled, my first real smile in months. No, something much more dangerous. What's that? A leader who remembers what it's like to be powerless. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's creation. The stage lights felt hot as I adjusted my microphone. The TEDx audience stretched before me, hundreds of faces waiting for wisdom about the price of vision. They wanted inspiration. I gave them truth instead. Everyone loves a revenge story, I began. The wronged hero, the satisfying payback. But nobody talks about what revenge costs, not just the targets, the avenger. In the front row, Carlos nodded slightly. He'd stepped back to an advisory role last month, saying he needed space from the intensity of our work. I couldn't blame him. I spent 15 years building someone else's dream, only to watch it handed to someone else. Then I spent 6 months destroying everything I'd built, including parts of myself. Samantha had moved on too, accepting a position with a prestigious law firm. "You don't need a warrior anymore," she told me. "You need a builder." People asked me if it was worth it, if revenge satisfied the anger, healed the hurt. I paused, letting the silence fill the auditorium. The truth is, revenge is like burning down your own house to kill a spider. You might get the spider, but you're still homeless. My mother sat in the middle section next to Mark. They'd both come, despite my uncertainty about inviting them. My father had declined, his pride still recovering. But here's what nobody tells you about hitting rock bottom. It makes an excellent foundation. I clicked to the next slide, our new company logo. Not Hansen Hardware or Nexera Systems, but something new, Phoenix Innovations. We took two broken companies and created something stronger, not through destruction, but through transformation. We implemented profit sharing for all employees, created mentorship programs, promoted based on merit, not gender or connections. In the wings, Veronica gave me a thumbs up. She'd become our Chief Innovation Officer, her talent finally recognized. The hardest part wasn't the business strategy. It was facing myself in the mirror every morning and choosing who I wanted to be, the monster who burned everything down, or the leader who could build something better from the ashes. After the talk, Mark caught up with me backstage. "Nice speech," he said awkwardly. "Very honest. That's the point of healing, isn't it? Honesty?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Listen, I've been thinking about what you said, about merit and talent." He handed me a business card. "My friend runs this startup incubator. They're looking for mentors." I studied the card. "You're volunteering at a women's business initiative?" "Trying to balance some karma." He managed a small smile. "Besides, someone needs to warn them about entitled brothers." Later that evening, I visited the old Hansen Hardware flagship store. The windows were dark, the shelves empty. Our new company had moved to modern facilities across town. I picked the locks, some skills never fade, and walked through the musty aisles. In the back office, buried under debris, I found the ledger I'd first managed at 19. The pages were filled with my careful handwriting, tracking every nail and bolt. My phone buzzed. A text from my father. "Watched your talk online. You're right. I'm sorry." I stared at those two words for a long time. They weren't enough, but they were something. I typed back, "I know." Walking through the empty store one last time, I remembered all the dreams I'd had here, the plans I'd made, the ladders I'd climbed, the ceilings I'd hit. I pulled out my phone again and called Veronica. "Remember that mentorship program we discussed?" I asked. "Let's double the budget and add a specific track for family business succession." "Planning to prevent more stories like yours?" "Planning to create better ones." I stepped outside into the cool night air. Across the street, a young woman was locking up her small boutique. She saw me and waved, one of our mentorship participants. My phone buzzed again. A message from Carlos. "Missing your crazy intensity. Dinner tomorrow." I smiled and replied, "Only if you're ready to hear about my next big idea." "There's always a next big idea with you," he texted back. "That's why we followed you." Standing there in the darkness, I realized something important. Revenge hadn't made me whole. Building something new hadn't either. What had healed me was simpler and harder than that. I'd learned to trust again, to create instead of destroy, to lead without fear of fury. I looked up at the stars, remembering that Christmas dinner that felt like a lifetime ago, the plaque that read Founder's Daughter, the fury that had driven me to burn it all down. I didn't burn bridges anymore. I paved new ones, and yes, I still dreamed of fire sometimes. But now it was the kind that forged steel, not the kind that left ashes. That was the real price of vision and its reward.